What do you know, muchachos? What do you know? How are ya? Wow. How you feeling now that summer is coming to a real close? Officially doesn't end till September 21st. Is that correct? Am I right in thinking that? I think so. However, it always feels like September 1st is kind of like the day, right? It's weird out here in New York. It just like starts raining, like just fall vibes immediately. I like that though. I think it was a hot summer. It always is here in New York. Was it a hot summer where you were? How'd you hold up? Did you have a good time? Did you get out? Did you go to the beach? Did you do any traveling? Did you do anything fun? At this age in my life, I feel like, holy shit, the summer's over. Like, what did I even do? Did I have fun? I don't know. This summer for me was exceptionally busy, just with the move and with, my relationship that was kind of imploding and exploding and then getting back together. And we were making it work. And it took up a lot of emotional space for sure. But yeah, I was really kind of in. Uh, just kind of a tough space mentally. And so I feel like when you kind of get out of that and get to the other side of it, you're like, whoa, where did time go? It's kind of like the pandemic, like 2 years passed and now you're like, wait, 2020 wasn't last year. Wait, 2018 wasn't just like 2 years ago. That was 6 years ago. Um, yeah, so that's what this summer kind of feels like for me. But it was good nonetheless. I definitely learned a lot. I definitely came out uh, into this new season feeling like that was necessary for me to go through this move, the transition with Rachel, everything that we were kind of going through. Was a real level up moment for me. And so I'm really grateful that I was able to stick it through and make some decisions and to really lean into a new kind of pursuit emotionally and personally that I don't think I've been able to really fall in line with before in my life, which is planting both feet in on life, in on relationships, in on myself, in on my faith with my aspirations. Really just believing in what I have in my world and in my life. And that's great. That's such a cool thing. It's easier said than done, right? To execute that belief system, you really have to do some hard work. And I feel like I've been doing some really hard work lately and it's paying off. And I think I'm really looking forward to seeing what the outcome of this new kind of way of living for me looks like. Not because I'm hoping for an outcome or for a result, but just because I know it will introduce new things to my life. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. How are you guys doing? You guys hanging in? It's election season. Yeah, that's getting weird. I know that is. Did you see the debate? How'd you think about it? Huh? Where are you leaning? You feeling one way or the other? I'm not going to talk about that. That's stupid. But I hope you're doing all right. I hope you're holding up. I am so excited for you to hear this podcast. It's a long one, but it's a really special one. I've spoke to my friend Stephanie Powers now a few times, and every single time we've ever connected in the world has always been on a podcast. So we met originally when I was doing How Good's This with Alan Stone, and we did two podcasts with her, and then I did a solo one with her as well, and then Again, I just had her back on this. Stephanie is an astrologer, an author, a podcaster. She has a book called "It's Just a Phase." That is, I will admittedly say that I haven't read, but I know just from having followed her on her journey that it's a really special book and really personal to her, and it's resonating with a lot of her readers and a lot of her people um, that are absorbing her beautiful material. Her podcast that is growing and growing always is called the Lightworkers Lounge. It's a really really special podcast for all you astrologers or dreamy people out there. She gets into the trenches of all of the intricacies of the stars and the alignments and why we are the way we are. And she's just a really beautiful person. She has a really artistic spirit and just asks so many great questions, and kind of like, her real purpose is to show people who they are, show people their authenticity through astrology. And I just always appreciate her coming on. I appreciate her candor. I appreciate her genuine spirit and just kind of what she represents. She's just a wholesome person that I really respect and admire. And this podcast really was just like her kind of asking me things. So we get deep. I really kind of take her on a journey of my own experience through acting, through relationships, through the hardships of everything that's going on. And then, she digs in a little bit with her own interests and fears. And it's, yeah, she kind of turned the tables on me and kind of interviewed me a little bit, which I didn't intend for. But, there's no rules to this podcast. So that's kind of where we went. But I was really grateful to talk to her. She is a lovely human being, exceptionally talented, and I'm just thrilled to know her. And I'm excited for you to get to know her as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, please let me quit talking like I always do and let you listen in to my good friend, Stephanie Powers.
This is Lightworkers Lounge. This is the precipice of delusion. That we are delusional and we are fucking heading for liftoff, baby. Wow. Wow, Stephanie, how are ya?
I'm doing so good. I couldn't wait to connect with you.
I know. I honestly felt like when I reached out to you originally, I've been going through it this whole year. I mean, kind of my whole life, and
Yeah,
but
right.
but but I'm really like unpacking a lot of stuff this year with myself. I turned 38 in June, and that's an interesting age. I mean, I guess every age that you get into is new and interesting. Past like 35, I don't know. I'm just like, whoa, I'm beyond the age that my parents had me, which was 36, which was old for them, and I'm just like kind of reflecting on where I am at in my life and who I have become and my relationship that I'm in, and like all the masks that I've been wearing and all of the like the identity that has been cultivated through the impressions that I have made on everybody else in my life, and like not taking time to like figure out who that is just for me alone.
Wow.
So needless to say, I've been like really deep into my own like introspection, which I think I've been in for a while, but like
Yeah.
it's been kind of like a lot of growing pains. And I when I thought about talking to you, I was just like, I just selfishly want to talk to you. Like,
Oh,
this podcast isn't necessarily about like,
yeah,
yes, we talk about like, what you do and how you got here and what
of
you're
course.
doing in the future and this stuff. But like, mostly it's just like a check-in of like, how are we doing and how are we staying in this? And like, are we
Yeah.
good? And how's our self worth? And, like, where are we? Um,
Whew.
and you seemed like such a great person to chat with, even though most of the time I'm talking to actors or musicians. you're an artist in your own right. I mean, you're an author, you're an astrologer, you're a podcaster, but you're like an artist spirit as well. Just
Thank you.
like
Wow.
like from like what I see of you and what I hear of you and how you kind of present yourself to the world, you
Yeah.
kind of like embody the artist spirit in like who you are and what you represent. And so you felt like an appropriate person to have on the podcast, but also selfishly, I just wanted to like just check in with you because it's funny. Our relationship only exists on a podcast. We've
I
like chatted offline and stuff like that, but we have primarily just like been face to face, like on
Yeah.
podcasts,
We get
which
to the
is
good stuff on
kind of
air.
charming, but also
Yeah.
like we got to fix that and actually spend some proper time
I know.
doing
We'd
some
be the
stuff.
people that if we hung out in real life, we'd be like, what do we do? We need
Yeah,
to record this on air.
I know. It's so silly. It's this podcast has definitely become like a way for me to just selfishly reconnect with people. It's like, oh, I got a podcast, so you want to like hang out with me? like, you
Oh,
know,
but that's also kind of sad that that's like the scapegoat to connecting with people. I was just reading an article
yeah.
about that, our generation, right? Us kids in our 30s, how meeting up with friends and making plans feels more like a transaction than a, hey, let's hang out.
I feel that for sure more than ever in New York. It's like it's very much part of that culture.
Yeah,
And I've been out here for 13 years now,
a long
almost. It's
time.
like
I know. I
coming
thought you
on.
were born there. And you're like,
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I'm
I
a
mean, if I
PNW
might
boy.
as well like my life. I have like phases of my life in increments of like
Yeah,
the pre-divorce Julian, which was like up to 11, and then like the post-divorce Julian, which was like 11 to 24, and then the New York Julian, which has been that here on out.
yeah,
Um, and it's like these completely different versions of me that I don't even like really, I can't even connect almost
yeah.
in a weird
And
way.
you're moving. Where's this new humble abode of yours?
Yeah, Rachel and I, my girlfriend Rachel, and I are moving just out of Brooklyn and into Manhattan, but we're going up into like the Harlem area. It's officially called Hamilton Heights, which is just a fancy way of saying like Upper Harlem.
Yeah.
um, but we found a really really cool spot that we I feel like we shouldn't be allowed to be living in. It's like too nice. The place is
Oh,
like I don't know. It felt like a real win when we were accepted into this spot, and it was based on not like our financial portfolio and like our credit score and all this bullshit. It was like the woman and the company that we were going through to get the space. Uh, she owned the building, and so she just resonated with our personalities and was like, "I want
you.
you to be in
Oh,
the space." And that was so much more validating and reassuring and just like exciting
yeah.
than being like talking to brokers and being like, what's your credit score, how much money do you have in the bank right now, how much do you have in savings, and I'm like, nothing. I'm fucking an artist, dude. Like, this
I'm
sucks.
an artist. What do
you
you
know
want?
um, if you want me to prove anything, let's just end this conversation right now. And so
Yeah.
it was it was really wonderful to meet her and to find this space. It's like 3 times the size of the current spot that we're in, which is pretty big for New York already as it is.
Look at you.
Um, it's just really beautiful. The studio space that I'm going to have for like this, and I'm going to try to turn it into like in person as well. Um, it's just giant. It's just massive, and it's like this corner spot with massive like windows for natural light, and it's right across the street from the Bailey family's castle, which is like Barnum and Bailey, like circus people. So like right across, like out our window, you just see like the Bailey family's like beautiful castle. It's in a cool
Wow.
part of town, and yeah, we're just excited for a new chapter because it's been a rough year, and it's
Yeah.
just been like a lot of like peeling back layers and just like getting naked and being like, oh my god, I feel so uncomfortable right now, but I
Yeah.
know that I need to sit in this space
Sit with
and just like allow it to happen. You
yeah.
know, I like haven't been drinking all year, which is, a thing that I have been
Go
I
you. I remember talking about that with you.
yeah, but this is like my fourth time like doing sober Julian.
Yeah.
It's never been intended to really be like a lifelong thing, but I think
Mhm.
maybe now it is becoming that. I don't know. It's hard to like be absolute about stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
How was that felt for you? Having to feel all of the feelings, no masks, no vices. That's tough.
I mean, I'm biting my fingernails a lot.
Yeah,
you
pulling
know?
your hair out, biting
Yeah,
fingers, tummy troubles. You are a Cancer sun. You guys get diarrhea and constipation a
yeah.
lot because you can't
That's
stomach
that's
the
been
emotion.
happening. That's been happening, and maybe it's because of this strong ass coffee I'm making too. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's not again, it's not my first time doing this. I started a sober journey in 2017 when I like turned 30,
Yeah.
and that lasted 3 years. And I was pretty convinced like I wasn't gonna start drinking ever again, and then I did during the pandemic just because I like moved back over to Spokane. I was with Alan, and him and I are like just complete degenerates together, and we were like making podcasts and movies, and we were like chugging tequila and just
Mhm.
being morons. Like just became part of our routine.
Yeah.
And so I tried to be like moderate with that, and then I kind of watched the patterns continue again, and I fell back into like, oh, it's just Tuesday and I'm like out drinking like
Yeah.
shots of tequila with my beer at dinner. Like, what is this? Why am I doing this? So to answer your question, it's a familiar feeling, but it's also uh, detached from this notion of trying. The first time I was doing it, I continued doing it because it felt like people admired me for it, and I liked that,
Mm.
and so I continued doing it because I'm such a slut for validation and approval from people
Yeah.
that it was
Yeah.
just like, oh, you think I'm interesting because I'm sober, so that's what's going to keep me sober, and it stopped being about me. This time it really feels about me, and
Yeah.
this time it really feels even more uncomfortable because of that,
Because
because I'm not tethered to um, the any like external reason for which I'm doing it besides like
yeah.
my own personal well-being.
Yeah.
And so that is also affiliated to my own personal struggles and
Yeah.
strife, and like what do I really want here? And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just like it's been it's been a challenge, especially with, like with my relationship and with
Mm.
just like this year professionally has been really weird as an actor, post pandemic, then post strike. Um, it's just been like I've been kind of rearranging myself as a creative and really focusing on like what do I even want
Yeah.
in my life, how and how do I plan to go about that in a way that doesn't make me continue to just work so hard but possibly work smart,
Yes.
because I've just been like bashing my head against the wall my whole this whole time, like trying to figure out how to make this thing happen,
Yeah.
and it's just not sustainable anymore, you know.
No.
And so I'm finally turning into like a new corner with this whole
Right.
experience and feeling a little bit more like grounded in myself.
Hmm.
Um, but even that, it's like, is this all a lie? I'm an actor, so like I can't tell the difference if I'm like acting like I have this figured out or if I am actually figuring this out.
Yeah.
So it gets really complicated and convoluted for me, even
Because
emotionally. Like I'm like, am I actually
acting
sad
right
right
now?
now, or am I like
There's this thing.
manufacturing this?
Wow, we just watched the movie Peanut Butter Falcon
So
with
good.
Shia LaBeouf, right?
Yeah.
And we were talking about his acting career and how, he's struggled with some things and how he's such a good actor.
So good.
Holy crap. And that's probably what you were saying. He's like, am I acting right now? Oh, wait, no, this is real life. Shit, I'm in trouble. Hold
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Wow. And you'll see my eyes. I'm bouncing between your birth chart and listening to what you're saying. Astrology is essentially just a weather forecast. right? We're all
Right, right.
affected by the full moon, by the new moon, whether you believe in it or not. Oh my gosh, you're what we call a Cancer rising. When you were born, the exact minute, 5:32 a.m., coming up over the eastern horizon over in Washington was Cancer. So this is the sign of family, lineage, where I come from and where I'm going. And a lot of Cancer risings have been experiencing the most difficult relationships, especially romantic or their really close knit friendships, since 2008, when Pluto, the planet of darkness, shadows, intense emotions, entered your area of life on your birth chart that rules relationships. And this Pluto planet, he's been sitting there for 18 years. That's a long time to be learning the lessons of relationships. Can you think about where you were in 2008?
Yeah, I was in a relationship with my first partner who I had been with, who I wound up being with for 7 years, between the ages of 17 to 24. We broke up in 2010,
Okay.
but probably starting around like 2007, maybe 2008, it was like we should have stopped then.
Mhm.
And we continued because we were kids becoming adults who didn't know how to get out of the relationship we had kind of created for ourselves. We didn't have the emotional wherewithal to like exit. We didn't know what to do. We had two dogs. We had like we were properly domestic partners,
Yeah.
so we were like common law married. Everything was moving us in the direction of like, well, yeah, this is just what happens. We just get married and we have kids. And she she wasn't very supportive of my uh, creativity. And my creativity at that point was very misguided too. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I needed to create stuff and be like some kind of artist in some capacity.
Yeah.
She was much more pragmatic than me.
Uh,
So, yeah, in 2008, I was like in the throes of that relationship and probably contending with like, I remember one moment, and I've talked about this before, maybe not here, but uh, we were sitting. Uh, I had been in like a band with my brother. Him and I were like rappers. We were doing rap. We were called Los Fancy Lads, and we we were like we did like shows all over like Washington State and like the Pacific Northwest and stuff. And
yeah.
it was a blast. I got to do stuff with my brother, but and it was fun. But it really like I had to kind of decide at one point like, am I going to be a rapper for the rest of my life, or am I going to like settle into something more
Wow.
logical? And I remember a meeting we had. Are you familiar with like DeVry Technical Institute?
Yeah.
Like the commercials, like where it's like
ITT
anybody's welcome and like, yeah, ITT Tech, like DeVry. I
tech.
just like, I was a terrible student in high school. And so
Yeah.
um, she was just like, I'm taking you to DeVry. And we're
Oh.
going and we're having a meeting with the counselor and the enrollment like administration. And we're going to get you situated with like a real plan.
Oh.
And I remember sitting behind the desk, like talking to this admissions person, and like she was like holding my hand and like you'd do like two squeezes for like I love you, and she was sitting there and she was so enthusiastic about this for me, and she was squeezing my hand, and I remember just being like feeling like this is the end of my life. This is
Wow.
like, because I was like, what am I doing here? She's
Yeah.
talking to me about like the programs that DeVry Technical Institute has to offer. And I'm like, nothing is resonating with me here.
No.
Nothing, like, it just felt like a continuation of all the classes that I hated in school when I was going. I was like, this is not me. This is not for me. It almost felt like your doctor dad being like, need to go and become a doctor. And you're like, I don't want your laugh. Like I just wanted to be like, I didn't know, but she was like really headstrong on me becoming that thing. And that may have been in that period. That was a long-winded way of just
Yeah.
telling you that I probably was just in a very confused state, which is appropriate. I was probably like 22, 21, 22 years old at that point,
Yeah. Yeah.
probably heavily drinking. you know,
Mm.
being rambunctious and just like kind of a degenerate, but also like, yeah, just very like misguided and like undirected with
Yeah.
what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be.
So you guys eventually broke up
Yeah, I
after the
cheated on
DeVry
her
incident.
actually,
Oh,
which was
yeah.
really a, which was really a coward's way out for me,
Yeah.
because I knew that she and I were like couldn't be together anymore. But again, at that point I wasn't equipped with the emotional wherewithal to have a conversation or communicate what I needed. And
Mm-hmm.
so there was a person that I was working with at the time who like made herself very available and was exactly the opposite of my girlfriend and really like loved my like artistic fervor and like was really like just thought that was so attractive and cool, and I was just like, well, this feels nice. And
Yeah.
so I wound up actually getting really drunk one night and waking up the next morning in her bed, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know who. I thought at first, because she was blonde, and I like looked around and I was like, I prayed for like one of the first times in my life that it was Alan. I was like, please God, let this be Alan. Like I don't, because
With
it would
his
just mean I was like
beautiful
snuggling
curly.
with like my friend, like, you know, and I didn't actually do what I think I did.
Oh,
And sure enough, she like turned around and I was just like, oh
no.
my God. Because I didn't know, it wasn't one of those things where I was like cheating continuously. I did it that one time and I went directly to her and was just like, hey, like this is going
It's
to be the
happening.
hardest thing I've ever had to do, but I need to be honest with you and tell you that like I cheated on you last night. And after 7 years, she like turned to me and she was just like, get the fuck out of here. I never want to see you again. And I turned around and I walked out the door. I just said like, yeah, I get it. I walked out. And to this day, like haven't seen her, haven't like, we terminated our lease just like through via text and stuff, but we like never spoke again, never saw each other, nothing. It was just like all over. And like that was the catalyst for me to really like move to New York and start acting and being like, okay, cool. Now I don't have like anything tying me down from what I
Oh
want
my,
to do. So
wow.
what do
When
I
was
want to
her
do?
birthday? Do you remember?
Yeah, March 29th.
You and the Aries. Ow, her.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
12, 11.
yeah.
Oh,
Kind of.
Aries people really hit off your 10th house of career. And so these are Aries suns. They can really push you in the direction for better or for worse. In this case, her saying, get the fuck out of my face, never want to talk to you again, it kind of pushed you, like you said, to move to New York. And then, of course, Uncle Al, you and him are always.
Yeah, simpatico.
Yeah, you
Well,
guys are.
yes, sometimes and sometimes not. Sometimes we can be a little. It's funny. I was listening to some of our podcasts from uh,
Yeah.
How Good's This, and there were times where like we would do like multiple a day, and at the end of the run, we were just getting so frustrated with each other, and like you could hear it coming out in the episodes, just like bickering and fighting, and like yeah, just like any friends, you know. Once you get into like adult life, it's just like you
Yeah.
need space from each other. You can't just be like around each other for that long. That
No.
and like you know he was like trying to raise a family and not even doing a good job of doing it because he was so like consumed by like the stupidity of what we were doing.
Stupid.
You know,
Hey, that was a great
it
podcast.
was great. It was great. I know.
You had a whole
I'm.
production team.
That was true. Yeah, it was really something.
Why did you guys stop or pull the brakes on that?
We just the pandemic stopped. You know, like life started back up again, and so I moved back to New York, and we were trying to do it virtually like this, and it just didn't really like
Yeah.
feel the same. And
Mhm.
um, then you know, like I started working out here, and Alan started like picking up some tour dates and other things like that. And
Mhm.
it just became hard.
Mhm.
We never like officially stopped. We just kind of paused. So it's always something that we can go back to, and I assume we might. I might like move to Spokane someday and just like
Yeah?
get out there. I don't know. Just feeling like I've been here for a while, and
Yeah.
I was hoping New York would show me like a little bit more love than what it has. But like New York doesn't really show love. You know, it just kind of like
You got to earn
punches
it.
you in the dick and tells you to like
Yeah.
go home.
Go.
Yeah, but even when you do earn it, it's still like it just doesn't reciprocate. It's not like a
Yeah.
loving city in that regard. For some, maybe
Wow.
for some people it has been, but I just don't
So,
feel that way.
what was your life like in 2013? So this would be after you broke up
Uh-huh.
with Miss
Yeah.
Aries.
Yeah, I moved to New York in 2012, and then I actually I came out here and I went to a conservatory program for acting, and then in 2013 I actually left that conservatory program and I moved to LA, and I moved to LA because I was convinced that I was going to um, just like skyrocket in my career and be the next like fucking Matt Damon, Leonardo DiCaprio. Like I was convinced, and I was convinced because my experience in Seattle through my first year in New York
Yeah.
gave me no reason otherwise to think that I wasn't going to be that. I booked work right away. Like when we broke up and I decided to start acting, I found an agent. I had never had any experience. I auditioned for my first 5 projects and booked every single thing, like major motion pictures, TV shows, commercials. I was just booked. I went book, 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 book. And
Oh,
it
so
was unheard of.
2013, 14 was amazing for you.
No, it was not because I booked that work like in 2011. And then at the top of 2012, I moved to New York because they gave me a full ride scholarship to go to this school. And I was going there and I was like 24 amongst many like 18-year-old kids fresh out of high school who thought they were going to be famous actors. And I was like in movies at the time and like TV shows that were coming out while I was there. So I became this very like popular, cool guy who like had real life experience on set. And I just was like this hot commodity at the school. Even my teachers like revered me, and I just felt really awesome out and like it just like perpetuated my own ego and my own belief that like I'm going to be the next fucking Leonardo DiCaprio. Like I'm like on my way. Like this is how it's supposed to be. And so I moved to LA to do a commercial that I got hired for. And at the end of that commercial, I was like, all right, bring it on. Like, here we go. Buckle up, Julian. This shit's about to take off.
Yeah.
And it immediately like just all stopped. And I was going to agency meetings and they were just like, who are you? And I was like, oh, I'm Julian Gavalanis. You know me. Like, I'm pretty awesome. You know, because I truly just like thought that I was like this
Yeah.
amazingly viable actor that like everybody needed to know. Like, I just was believed it.
Again.
And I had stuff to back me up, or so I thought. But that stuff was just like, cool, man. Like, you've done some things. Like, that's good. Like, we're glad that you've done some things. Like, but it doesn't mean shit. Um, and ultimately, they were just like, yeah, no. And I was like, what do you mean no?
Yeah.
Like, what
Look
do
at
you
me.
mean
Look at these
no? Yeah.
headshots.
Can't you see how talented I am? And I just like, it was I mean, totally necessary in retrospect, but in the moment, it was just like my whole world had crumbled because for 2 years I had been just like on this rise, this trajectory that was like, I'm killing it. I'm amazing. Like, I am so good at this. And of course, the stars have aligned and this is my path. And then out in LA, it was just like, yeah, you're just another guy who's trying to be an actor. So welcome to the club, dude. Like, get in line.
And they're so
And
good out there. There's
it,
freaking raw talent sitting in LA.
yeah, yeah. And so 2013, I was kind of like met with my first taste of like real humble pie, being like, whoa,
Yeah.
I guess I was at the right place at the right time. I guess a lot of things like worked out in my favor,
Hmm.
but I must recognize that this is never going to be as easy or like the same as it was then.
No.
And if I really want to do this, then I really have to like change my opinion of myself and and learn how to settle into the reality that this is going to be a lifelong journey towards like discovering my own talent and my ability and trying to figure out how to find like work and create work and build a life for
Mhm.
myself in this profession. And it was very sad. I actually remember taking, I was going through this like just terrible time, sad. I was depressed. I was in LA. I couldn't make friends with people, or I could, but I was like, I just wasn't happy with anybody out there. And they, Alan came out, and Alan was like on the opposite side of his life, where he was like signing his first major label deal with Capitol Records. And I actually drove him to his meeting with Capitol Records to sign his contract. And I pulled him right outside, and he thought it was going to be like kind of charming to pull up in my 1992 Toyota Camry that was just busted as fuck. And he was like, "Yeah, it'll be cool because like I'm just this like dorky like Pacific Northwest kid who's broke and he's like signing this big deal." He's like, "Let pull me up." So I pulled him up, drop him off at like the red carpet entrance to the building, and I like stop the car and I give him like a 30-second pep talk, just like, "I'm so proud of you, man." Like all while I'm going through so much pain and sorrow. And he gets out of the car and he's just like, "Start my new life, man." And as I start my car, the engine blows up and catches on fire. And I'm sitting right outside the red carpet of Capitol Records. My car's on fire. I'm literally like, it was so appropriate for like where he was like walking in to go sign this major deal. And I was sitting outside like with my life on fire. And I'll never forget, I was just like I was like screaming to the universe, just like, "Why would you fucking do this to me?" Because like I didn't have enough money to like pay to fix the car. Like I just had to like sit there and like let it happen. People were coming out like, "Hey, this is a bad look," and Alan was just like, "Oh my god, dude, this is crazy."
Someone should have been filming that. That could have been what made you viral and win an Oscar.
Yeah, yeah, maybe that would have got me somewhere in my life.
Holy shit, Julian.
Yeah.
You know, in your birth chart, you and I share something very similar, and I feel like this one piece of advice may or may not direct you towards your red carpet moment.
Mm.
There's something in a birth chart called the North Node. And it's essentially just if you took the Earth and the Moon when you were born and we shot a rocket directly, mathematically, directly through the middle distance between these two, that's your North Node. And yours was going through the sign of Aries when you were born. But it's the house, the pie slice in your birth chart that I'm looking at that you and I share. Yours is in the 11th house. This is a fame house. It's a sign of fame in a chart, but it's famous.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, you have. I remember last time I read your chart, I was like, wait, you're supposed to be Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, it is written in the stars for you.
Yeah,
But
what's up, fuckers? Where's my fucking Grammys or my
the moon, what
cat?
is it
Yeah,
talking about?
come on.
Your North Node is in the 11th house of collective fame. But you're famous for doing something that really helps heal the collective. Your South Node is just the exact opposite point of this, which in astrology would be the fifth house of fame. Of red carpet, Capitol Records. I am famous. Look at me on stage. Aren't I gorgeous? I'm so good. You're just famous because it makes you feel good. It pumps up your ego. You love being in the spotlight. Versus the 11th house is I'm famous for helping people. Our stories are so similar because I share this fifth, 11th house with you.
Do
I used
you?
to be famous for being a DJ. How does that
That's
help
right.
people? How does scratching records, getting them to dance, like, sure, you get a good time dancing, drinking, whatever, but does that really help people?
Yeah.
No. When I started Lightworkers Land, it was a pure hobby. I did not think it would do what it would do, but it was helping collectively people on a big, large scale. And so the more we move towards when we create art, asking ourselves, how does this help people? If there's a good answer to, oh, this helps people who are struggling with mental health. This helps people who have been struggling with sexual abuse, emotional abuse. If there's a good answer for that, fame, notoriety, your name being well known is highly likely to happen. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, well, firstly, like I remember, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like, didn't you have an episode in like the beginning of Lightworker's Lounge where you just kind of like were going through something like really significant, like a breakup or something like that, or a divorce, right?
Course.
And you just kind
Yes.
of like free spoke, and that's really like what kind of was that what started the whole thing?
Julian, before I did, so I started it January 2018, and I would freestyle my intros. I would beatbox. I would
Yeah,
still do my DJ stuff, all stuff to fulfill me. I was pretty
yeah,
good at it, but
yeah,
how does beatboxing the zodiac signs help anybody besides give them a good laugh? And it
right,
wasn't
right,
really taking off. I had a solid 20 downloads per podcast
yeah.
episode. But then, yes, June 2018, I went through a crushing divorce to a guy I had known since I was in third grade. It was
Wow, yeah, I
white.
remember.
Oh my God. There is not a world where we didn't exist, but here it is. So when I went through this divorce, I just kept thinking, like, this shit doesn't happen to me. This doesn't divorce is not something on my life's resume. I get the 4.0. I graduate with honors from business school. Like, I'm Miss Perfect. No way. So right after I left the shared apartment we had, kind of like your situation, I went to an Airbnb in the mountains outside of Denver. And I was just thinking, holy shit, this is real. Like, I have my life's belongings in the back of a beat up Subaru. I'm sitting in somebody else's house. What? And so I was like, I can't just sit here and fidget around a room and look out the window and go, what the fuck am I going to do? I don't know where I'm going.
Right.
So I said, well, I do like my podcast. I don't know if I'm going to post this, but it got dark. The sun went down. I hit that little red record button on GarageBand and I just said, well, here I am, 29 years old, divorced, no children, don't know where I'm going to live, 3 grand to my name to figure it out. Wow. And I just went on and on about my parents' divorce, how no one in my family has ever been married, how this was written in the stars, how a psychic once told me when I was 18 that I would get divorced. Damn it. And I've never listened to it. I can't, I'll cringe. But
Oh, really?
that episode went viral. I
Yeah.
hit post because I was just in such a delirious, cried out, emotional, flatline state. And I was like, fuck it. What the hell do I have to lose? My whole life is upside down right now. I did not think anybody would download it. I thought they would just skip right to my next beatbox episode. Oh no. Oh, as soon as I kept refreshing the downloads, I was like, what did Leonardo DiCaprio share my podcast?
Yeah, yeah.
What? And to this day, I get fan mail 6, 7 years later from
Oh,
people
wow.
who are in their 20s going through a divorce who say, this episode saved my life. Yeah,
That's really the
no,
purpose, right?
that's the purpose. And I still fall back on that sometimes, that
You've
self.
never listened to it?
Never, I can't.
You
I'm
will, I bet, in like many years.
maybe,
I just heard
maybe.
Lisa Kudrow on a podcast talking about how she just started watching Friends after Matthew Perry died because she like can finally not watch it for herself and like watch it for him. And so she was just like however many years, 20 years later, it's just like she can really like kind of go back and look at that with like a lot of love and reverence and stuff. And
Yeah,
because
yeah,
she's so far removed, plus he's out of the picture, and so it's just like a completely different
yeah.
relationship. But yeah, I wonder when, because I bet you will, and it'll probably be really, really beautiful, a beautiful experience for you.
Whew, cathartic. I think you're absolutely right. And I have to be definitely in a mindset to listen to it because I think I'll grieve for the young me. Be like, oh, wow. But I hope you never give up acting or your
I don't.
artistic flair because, oh my God, it is so prominent in your chart. And the reason why I asked you about 2013 and 14 is next May, I think 26th. This is when Jupiter, he's the planet of abundance, miracles, blessings. He's moving
Please.
into the sign of Cancer, which is your rising sign, your soul's promise. It is your sun sign, it is your first house. Right now, you are going through some pretty difficult transits. I'll just hand you that sense of validation. The weather forecast of your life, if I did not know you, you were just a random client that came to me for a reading, I would say, hey, You're going through some stuff. You're really squeezing out things that you have experienced and been hurt by since 2008. That's a long time. Jupiter's going through your 12th house of mental health, isolation, seclusion. He just started that in June. He's going to go until next May. This is from now until next May. Give yourself a permission slip to cry, to go to therapy, to feel depressed. Let those things seep out of you because come next May, and this is going to last a whole year into 2026, I think you're going to feel very different and transformed. So that leads me to ask you, what's up with career? Where are we steering the career ship right now?
Yeah, it's it's uh, it's an interesting time to be an actor for all of us because our industry has really kind of imploded in a way since the pandemic pushed pause and then the strike became a result of that pause,
Mm-hmm.
as well as a result of all of like the unfair financial structures that were put in place once the streaming platforms kind of like took over. And so it's been a really tricky thing to navigate because I think even for actors that are well beyond the level that I'm at,
Mm-hmm.
they have been having a really hard time as well. But
Mm-hmm.
now those guys are coming down and taking roles that I would otherwise be like afforded and having the opportunity to have. So
Mm-hmm.
my peers and I that are at the level in which I am, which is very much like blue collar actor,
Yep.
right? Like we're doing the work. We're going and doing like guest star roles in TV shows for like an episode, maybe 3 episodes, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Those jobs are just being taken by people that are like typically doing series regular work on TV shows or major motion pictures, whatever. And so it's dried up, and the industry, because it's trying to bounce back from all of the lost time from the pandemic and the strike,
Mm-hmm.
they're really trying to like overcompensate for all of the money lost. And so there's like these big projects happening with less talent attached to them, but big talent as much as they can. Like they're just trying to like squeeze as much as they can out of this thing
Yep.
to ensure that there's no risk involved in like making money on the back end. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's really like a giant disparity similar to like our country right now with like the 1% and then the rest of us. Which is, and it's not anything new, but why we're seeing like movies in theaters are Marvel films and these giant remakes and reboots, and you don't even hear of these other like small art house films, indie films, other projects.
At all.
And TV is kind of like in a similar place, and it's just very hard to navigate for
Yeah.
me right now. And I am just not interested in holding my breath anymore while waiting for an opportunity to come my way. I
Yeah.
spent 10 years relying on my agents to find work for me so
Yeah.
that I could then be on TV, make a paycheck, sustain my lifestyle, and like leverage the next opportunity from that
Yeah.
last job I did. It's just not sustainable at this point in my life. Like, it's just not, even if I were working more and more consistently, it's still just like, it's not what I got into this for. I didn't get into this just to be like some hired gun to go show up and to like read somebody else's lines, to stand in somebody else's mark, to be in somebody else's light, to like be directed by somebody else. Like I got into this because I really wanted to be collaborative in my own creative process. And I've had that opportunity in projects that I've done. Every time I act, like for the most part, I get to be somewhat collaborative. But all the projects that like are have have like real credibility in, with the TV shows or like the big films that I work with, big stars in. Truly, these are the most uninspiring projects that I've ever worked on because I feel not collaborative at all in any of them.
Yeah.
That's not to say that I'm not grateful for the opportunity to do them. Grateful to work with Anne Hathaway or Rami Malek or Morgan Freeman or these people that like I've had the chance to like be in the same space with and like work at the same level as, which is like, wow, this is unbelievable. How did I get here? Oh, I guess I chose to. But even still, it's like, this isn't it. This isn't like, I'm not just here to be an actor alongside these like stars or even necessarily be a star. I want to create a lane where I can write the roles that resonate with me the most and then produce the project that is in service to the most impact that I can possibly cultivate for the connection that I want to make with the people that are going to pay any attention to it.
You know
Great.
you are going to be a household name. You know you are. But it's going to be for something that you're not trying to be a star at.
That resonates. I don't like, it's hard for me to like it, it's managing my expectations is like the number one thing I've had to learn how to prioritize in my life. Because as you heard, my early days was just like, yeah, I am going to be a star. Like, I knew it.
You
And it
knew.
was like, this like delusional belief that I think I needed to have in order to even like stay doing this thing.
Have to.
And it continues, but just in a different context now. It's hard to be like, yeah, you're right. I'm going to be a household name. Yeah. Part of me is like, well, don't deny it because then you're just like manifesting that. You're not like visualizing this and speaking it out into the world. And I'm really trying to believe what I say. But in my mind, I have always believed that, like, even as a kid, I remember I went back to my mom's place a couple years ago and I was going through our old stuff. And she has like bins full of like art projects and essays or whatever from when we were little kids, like little doodles and this stuff. And I was looking through it and and I was trying to find evidence of my own exceptionalism but I didn't find it. That's the truth. Like I was just like, nope, you were just a regular kid that made shitty paintings. Like these are just bad. And
Oh.
but because like in my mind I've been like, no, there's some, and I don't know if we all feel this way. Like I don't know if you feel this way. I don't know if you need to feel this way. But it's just like I've always been like, no, like I'm exceptional. Like there's something. And I'm not
You
saying that outwardly. I'm just
are.
believing that for myself. But then when
Yeah.
somebody else tells me like you're gonna be this thing, it's just like I don't know. Like it's hard. It's because it's like faith, right? I've been playing
Yeah.
with faith a lot lately and
Yeah.
thinking about it because it's this intangible thing that I can't like hold on to. I can't see, taste, smell. I don't know. It's not there for me to like
Doesn't exist. Yeah.
touch. And so for me, it's like if I can't see it, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And
You have the empowered one where you say, I'm exceptional. What I tell myself is, you're so fucking weird. You don't
uh,
fit in. Nobody likes you. You don't fit in any group. So go ahead and be weird by yourself and just go do weird things. So my weird thing is astrology. My weird thing is the podcast. So yours is a bit more kind than mine, but
I don't know. I mean, like you're still taking something that is like
yeah,
uniquely yours and
yeah,
spinning it in a way to afford you the ability to
yeah,
like put it out into the world. And also you're being validated by people being like, hey, your weird actually resonates and I
yes,
really like appreciate this. This is actually changing my life. And you're like, oh, okay,
exactly.
cool. This is the thing then. This is
Yeah,
like the purpose. So good
yeah,
on me for being weird.
yeah,
I'm over here being like, I'm this everyman, like, especially as an actor. It's like, I remember when we used to go into auditions in person, I'd walk into a room and I'd be like, what the fuck am I doing here? There are 12 handsome fucking dudes with chiseled jawlines, fucking like nicer hairlines, cooler like bodies, cooler tennis shoes, taller. just like, and I like go and look at the check sheet, and I like look them up on IMDb or something. I'm, fuck, and they got all these credits. Like, I'm such a loser. I do not belong here. These guys are hot AF, and I am fucking like, oh, I don't even have a fucking six pack. You know what am I gonna do? Like, this sucks. You know, just like seeing all of the problems with myself and like just judging myself against all these other guys who I'm sure are doing the exact same thing to me.
In their
But it's
minds.
because like, you know, I am like I would fall into the category of like, you know, like handsome would be in the description. So there all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I guess I have to accept that that's me. Even like, or at least like a describing word to me, or like buff bro, right? It's like, oh, am I, do they think I'm buff? Do
Do
they
they?
think I'm this thing? Whenever they would use these like describing words that would say something about me that I have like always
Yeah.
kind of denied myself as being, I'd be like, okay, maybe I am this like Chad bro dude that they declare me as. And so it wasn't like, oh, I'm weird. It was just like, no, I am like, I started to believe like maybe I can be like this, like if I'm in the category of like straight white man who's buff and attractive, who, like every fucking superhero in the Marvel franchise, well, then maybe I should just be that guy. And so it like totally like convoluted my own headspace. And it was just like, no, dude, who cares what these people are like describing you as in the breakdown of these roles? You actually are, yes, maybe you present as this, but the power in you is that you're not that at all. And you're actually like this very, like, if you're Chad, you're like a thoughtful and like introspective one who's like, you know, a douchebag, like presenting douchebag, but like comes across very, very like thoughtful and like present and um, interested in like the human experience. That's like kind of jarring for casting people to be like, what the fuck? Like, oh, you seem like a guy that I would actually maybe get coffee with rather than some guy that I would like laugh at from across the bar, you know?
Ex- you
And
were
so
just
that
saying it.
became like more of my interest to like to to fuel that version of myself than
Yes.
like stepping into this like, oh, well, if they say that I'm Chad, I'm just gonna be Chad and, you know, fucking just keep like lining myself up with this version of myself. Because
There
I
it is.
ultimately think that like, you know, the guy that I am is the currency of me, way more than like the aesthetic and what I present externally. But that's hard as an actor. You know, that's a difficult thing to contend with when you really are a product of like your own aesthetic. You're just like, oh, we see you, great, you can act, but really like all we're looking for is like a type. So like if you fill that type, then great. They're not
There's where you're an
spending,
outlier. Those
yeah.
you guys all share the six pack abs. They have their own insecurities that they're looking at you and saying, "But one thing that makes you an outlier is you have a podcast like this." I bet they don't. I bet they wouldn't even know how to create one or talk on one.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I could spend time thinking that, but like, does that serve me in any way to be like, well, they're not doing this, or they like, I don't know. Like, I've done that. I've spent my time being in that space too,
If you could go
and
back to who you were in 2013 and do something different, what would you do?
it's a good question. Oh man, I don't know. I feel like I would like. I don't just want to say that I would give myself like more permission to just accept where I was because that seems kind of like cliche and too easy. But man, I was going through such a hard time with like my own imposter syndrome, but in like the reverse. Like I, I, I felt like an imposter to the version that I thought I was supposed to be. I was like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm like actually getting these roles and I feel like I shouldn't. I was like, I'm not getting these roles and I feel like I should. And I wish that was kind of like reversed a little bit, because it would have given me a lot of time to, and like space to really like lean into the notion that, yeah, you have permission to just be you and not like expect to be anybody else, because you're not, and you're never gonna be. And I think I spent many years assuming that I was supposed to be something that I wasn't, and hurting myself as a result of not being that thing, whether it was in like drinking or relationships that I was just like in and out of, or being I was so lost because of that mentality.
Yeah.
And so, I wish I would have just been able to give myself permission to just like be okay with that position that I was in at the time, rather than like white knuckling my way through being the thing that I just wound up recognizing that I was never going to be, anyways.
Do you think you can do that today?
I'm trying, but I still find myself like white knuckling through a lot of my own experience.
Yeah. What types of experiences with career or with a lot of things?
Yeah, with a lot of things. Um, in my relationship, Rachel and I talked about it a little bit here, and I don't know, I've kind of like told her that I've been speaking about our relationship on the podcast, which, I hope she is okay with, but I think she is. Um, her and I went through like a really, really rough time this last year. Excuse me, because, she moved here from Florida to be with me. We went to the same high school, um, and we grew up in Washington together, but we didn't know each other. And then we reconnected like
Yeah.
18, 20 years later
Mm.
and started this relationship. And so she came here, uprooted her whole life to come and be with me, which is like a giant sacrifice on her part. But I don't think we like set expectations appropriately before she came for like what we needed and wanted from each other. We just were like so excited to like get out of a long distance relationship and be together that we did that. And then we were all of a sudden like living here in New York. New York's a hard place to live, especially for somebody that's like doing it for somebody else. And then that put a bunch of responsibility on me, and it just kind of like overwhelmed both of us in this way that made us both made me like white knuckle my way through, like I'm gonna make sure she like loves it here, and make sure like and when she didn't, I was just like, it's all my fault, like
Mm.
I am the problem, I'm taking on the weight of the world, and uh, I have to hold myself accountable to being this person. And then like, but also like in the back of my mind there was resentment, because I was just like, why
Right.
can't she just like dig in and get it and do this? And um, she and I both wound up coming to a space where we just were like, we can't do this anymore. This was like 2 months ago. We were like, we had
Mm.
ended our relationship, and we were living together still while we were trying to like navigate how we were gonna like, I was gonna move, she was gonna move back, and we spent like 6 weeks just like in the same bed, like just broken up, uh, and like living together, and it was so sad. It wasn't awkward, it wasn't weird, it was just sad and like really hard, because the
Yeah.
love was always still there.
Yeah.
But I was falling back into patterns that I have always um, kind of like presented through my own experience, which are just like, when things get hard, I'm going to run away. I'm just going to bail, because I'm not like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what to do. And the only thing that I've ever been able to stay in when it's been hard has been acting. Like,
Yeah.
so it's like, you're able to like commit to something fully and be devoted to something. if you want to be. But what's pulling you back from wanting to be here? And I think when it comes to relationships and something that I'm not fully in control of because another person is in the picture, I start to get really uneasy because if you go back to 1998 when I go upstairs to bring my mom breakfast in bed on Mother's Day and she's crying because dad in the other room is like leaving her. I go to my dad and he's crying and I'm like, well, I've never seen my dad cry. I realize in this moment my parents are divorcing and like the rug is being swept out from under me of something that like I I know that like my family has my back. These are the people that I trust with everything in my life. I was blindsided by this whole separation between the two of them. I had no idea. I didn't see this coming at all. So at the age of 11, like everything was swept out from under me, and what I believed to be the one thing that I could trust and the one thing that I could believe in the most, I couldn't anymore. And so I've moved through life being like, protecting my own heart because it's just like, well, I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop. I'm just waiting for the rug to get swept out from under me. And I do that in my relationships. And I do that in my acting, even, I'm like, I have this just like narrative with just like, well, or this like managing my expectations of just like, this is like, I already know it's going to be really challenging. So I'm actually not even like, and I know that like this, let's say this role, this job, this experience is going to be over eventually. So I'm actually not even going to show up with as much love as I possibly could because I don't want to feel heartbroken when it's inevitably over because the job is inevitably going to be over. And the pain outweighs the joy sometimes. And it has for me in my experiences. And I really need to learn and am currently learning how to show up and be present in a way that allows me to be balanced with my love and my acknowledgement that yes, sure, like it can be over, it will be over, but also like you have grown through every single experience that you're doing. So like for acting, just appreciate the moment, the experience, the thing that's happening while you're doing it. Just like be so grateful for that. And then maybe that will foster the next thing and the next thing, and you will be able to like keep moving through that. But if you're like constantly afraid and constantly like on guard and protecting yourself,
Yeah.
it's not going to keep showing up for you. You're going to build this whole world out where you're just like shielded off by like everything that you didn't like you wanted but weren't able to bring in.
Yeah.
And Rachel and I, were in that space where I was just like, I
So you
don't know.
reconcile.
I didn't know how to reconcile any of that stuff. But we did. And I really had this moment while she was gone where I was just like, oh, if I just show up and have rightful expectations, but also have faith that like we are going to be okay and just trust that like you are who you say you are and that your love is real and genuine. And I don't get in the way of that or like pressure you to believe that you're lying or make you think anything else. If I just trust, what does that look like?
Mhm.
And
Doing things.
then that's where I'm at right
Ugh,
now.
thank you for sharing that with me. I feel like you are baby J because
Yeah.
we have such a similar story. I'm the Florida Keys girl. The very first
Yeah.
podcast me and Al did, I was in Key Largo.
Right.
And Baby JL, is from Texas and he's got two little boys here. And so naturally, when there's children involved, there's not even a discussion to be had. I'm leaving Florida and I'm coming to Texas, which
Right.
God bless Texas. It's not my favorite place. It's cool.
Mm.
I love being here right now, but it's definitely not somewhere I ever saw myself settling down and calling home. But so we've gone through so many instances like what you described with you and Rachel, where he always wants me to say, I love Texas. This is great. This is the best. And then when I'm honest and say, Not a fan. Not my favorite.
Mm,
It's so hot you can't even go outside and enjoy nature. Not
yeah.
me. It triggers him on a very personal level, like you were saying. Like, come on, just do something to like it. Please. I got
Mm,
Texas license plates. That made him feel good.
nice. She did it. She still has Florida.
Hey, I
And
had
I'm
my
fucking
Florida 6
pissed.
months after they expired. Yeah, I just got them. I actually got, vanity plates here in Texas that say Astro, and I'm going to
Oh,
pick them up
nice.
after this.
Nice. Hell yeah.
But I
That's
feel you
awesome.
guys. Thank you for sharing that with me because we
Yeah.
literally have had breakups, falling outs where we're like, love you, but you got to stay here where your kids are. And I love your kids. I feel like the best bonus mom ever, but
Mhm.
this isn't home to me.
Right.
So, man, is it tough. It is so tough. How did you guys circle back to each other?
Well, in, uh, we're doing some counseling, which has been really helpful. And she left. She left. We broke up. We accepted it,
She went home to
and,
Florida?
huh? She
She
went home
went
to
home.
Florida. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's where her, like, kind of extended family is, and like her community. She was there for like 10 years. Um,
Oh, so she knew nobody but you in New York.
nobody. Yeah.
Oh,
Nobody.
that's
And
hard
like,
for a woman. We need our girlfriends. We need our family.
absolutely. And I was aware of that, but I was like willing to do anything to, you know,
Yeah.
try to make the situation feel a little easier for her by whatever, sending her back for a little while or bringing some friends out here or doing fun things. Like, I really was excited to kind of like change my relationship to New York by like having her out here with like a fresh lens and be like, oh, cool, look at how cool that is. And when that didn't happen, I was just like,
Damn it.
yeah, I fucking hate everything about everything that's going on. And it just really, really hurt. And,
Yeah. It's hard.
we just had I think we just like, once we accepted the breakup and she went back to Florida for a week just to like kind of
Breathe.
organize herself and figure out what she was going to do. Um, we were talking a lot via text, and because we were actually able to like think about what we wanted to say rather than just like blurting shit out. Because I mean, I definitely talk at nauseum, and it's just like, dude, just shut the fuck up. Like, even me, I'm saying that to myself half the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just said a lot of like really kind of profound things regarding our relationship and where we were. And she said a lot of things to me about being, showing up in this relationship as somebody who like is capable of showing me love in the way that I feel like I deserve, but I don't know how to let it in. I don't know how to welcome it because I've never been able to. I've always just like sabotaged things in my life that at least as far as relationships. And that's not to
Mhm.
say that the relationships of my past have like necessarily been the right person for me or not, but I've always found a way to get to this point and then just like sabotage it and like burn it down. And she said certain things to me that like, I if I were to deny them, it would be me denying the work that I'm currently trying to do on myself as just a man, for me, despite her in this relationship. And it really made me look at myself and the growth and work that I'm currently trying to do to be more forgiving to myself, to be more open to changing my own patterns, to looking at my life and acknowledging that like I I don't need to be a product of everybody else's impression anymore, and I can actually like accept love for what it is, as like as its own, like the origin of what it is, through me, through somebody else as well, but mostly just through me. And I think when she was able to kind of like accept the demise of this relationship, but still really want the best for me, she was just kind of saying like, you like, I hope you are able to move through the world recognizing that you are enough and how good you actually are, and that you like really deserve something that I was really willing to give to you. Um, I so hope you find it. And I know that you're going to be okay, whether you do or you don't, because you have. But if you can figure out how to recognize that for yourself, you're going to be unstoppable. And I'm just really sad that I didn't get to be the person to experience that with you. And I just fucking I just was bawling for like 9 days straight. Like, just
When's
feeling
her
like,
birthday? Is she a Pisces? What are we
no,
working with here?
she's a Gemini. She's actually 2 days before me,
Stop.
which is like weird. I don't even know what that means astrologically, but like
Astrologically, you guys are total soulmates. Definitely knew each other in a past life.
weird.
Wow.
It's bizarre. It is bizarre. And, even our relationship, kind of how it started was through like a dream that I had. I didn't know her in high school, and she
A
knew of
dream?
me. I was a senior and she was a freshman, but uh, I I had a dream like 3, 4, how many years ago, and she was in it, and I didn't know who she was, and so I woke up the next morning and I was like, wow, that was crazy. It was just like this fun like adventure dream. I was just like, who was that like pretty girl in my dream? I don't like have any idea. So, anyways, it went out of sight, out of mind, and I kind of forgot about it. And like a week later, I was, like sitting on the pot doing my morning scrolls, and just like I saw on like Facebook that we had been friends forever. Like we had just like I subconsciously I must have like seen a picture of her at some point. And so I saw a picture of her again, and I was like, whoa, that's that girl. And so I proceeded to look at her and kind of like,
Oh,
creep on her page for like
yeah.
10 weird minutes. And I got to the point where
Mouth
like,
moving.
my legs were numb, and I was just like, I gotta get off this fucking toilet. And so I like sent her, I see, we
You
all know
tell
that
her this
feeling. Yeah,
story,
yeah,
how
yeah, of
you
course, of course, of course. And so like I was like, I gotta send her a message, because I honestly
met.
felt weird, like more weird just like looking at these pictures than just sending her a message. So I was like, hey, I know we don't know each other, and I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but I had this dream about you that was like not sexual. It was just like very nice. We were like slaying dragons and fucking beating up gargoyles and shit, and it was fucking awesome. And you were great, and it was like really fun and just cool. And I don't know why you entered into my space like that, but you did. And I just want to let you know that it was great. You don't even need to respond back to this message if you don't want to, if this like rubs you the wrong way. I have no idea where you're at in the world, but I hope you're doing well. And yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. 5 minutes later, I get a message back with a screenshot between her and her best friend from 4 days earlier saying, hey, you remember Julian Gavalanis from high school? I just had this really random dream about him
She said that she had a dream about you.
4 days earlier. Like which I reached out like a week later. So like it may have like aligned at the same exact time that we were having those dreams about each other.
Oh, you
And and
guys.
and 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 it was like, whoa, what the fuck?
No.
I did not reach out to her like trying to like hook up with her or do anything like that. Like whatever. She was a pretty girl, so I didn't like it wasn't like, totally off my mind, but it wasn't like the purpose. And so when she said that, I was like, okay, we got to explore this. And so we did. And we just like one thing led to another. We started FaceTiming, and then I went and visited her. Then she came and visited me. And then all of a sudden we were like, I was very resistant to being in a relationship with her, because that's just, I've been in 3 prior to her.
Yeah.
And I just like don't want my heart to get broken again. There's trauma attached to breakups that just hurts.
So,
So like I told you, like the pain has outweighed the joy of the relationship. And that's a sad thing. That's not to
that is,
say that the joy hasn't been there either. It's just a
yeah.
bold statement in that the pain is that much harder. I'm sensitive, like I am an emotional person, and I feel hard. And so I just can't, I didn't want to get myself back into a situation where I was setting myself up for another heartbreak.
Heartbreak. Don't blame you. You'll appreciate this. I had an idea to pitch to Netflix or someone who creates films about cat ladies.
Hmm.
Because I come from a lineage. I mean, I'm going to Southern Indiana to see my family all the time, and it's my mom and my grandmother live on the same block in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky border, and they have cats, like colonies of cats that they feed every day. And at first, I laughed like, "Ha ha, cliche, old cat lady," because they're single old women. Do not date, don't want to. They always say the pain of relationships outweighs the joy. And so, cats or dogs, just animals, unconditional love, don't got to worry about that there. But I thought, wait, there's actually a psychological connection because I went to Puerto Rico in January. There's an old cat lady next to my Airbnb. You go to
Hmm.
Colorado, there's a cat lady in town. Everybody knows. So I was like, what is the connection between old women and cats? They all say the same thing. I hate men or I hate relationships because the pain outweighs the joy. And cats are just pure energy. So I was going to film them and their relationship to cats and then interview them about
That
what
would
they
be
think.
amazing. You should.
Right? What? It sounds funny, but I was like, this would be a sweet YouTube short or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you? Should you? Will you?
Why not? Tap into
I feel like you should.
collectively. That'll help people. But that
I
I
feel like
hope
that too.
you never give up on your relationship to her. That's so special.
It is. And even just accepting the relationship when I did and saying like, because really I was making a decision which felt very familiar, and the decision was being made by indecision. Like I was
Yeah.
deciding to break up because I couldn't decide to stay in. So I was just like defaulting to, well, then we should just not be together. And
Indecision
when
is a
I
choice.
finally said, I'm planting both feet in this fucking thing and I'm going for it, it was like all of this weight fell off of me.
That's it.
I was not feeling relieved when I was deciding to not be in it because I wasn't deciding to not be in it. I was just not deciding to be in it, and there's a
Anxiety.
difference.
Yeah.
And so I didn't feel relief. I felt like there was something. I was like, fuck, like there's gotta be something. I got like something else. Like I got why am I still feeling this way? I like even like got a new place by myself. I had like already like signed a lease on a new spot. We were done. Um,
Oh,
and when I finally decided this, like truly, this was like 3 weeks ago. um,
oh,
yeah, this was very
recently.
recent. Yeah, yeah, we like I decided this weight fell off my shoulders. She was actually more reluctant at this point than I was, rightfully so. And she took a
Mhm.
couple more days to like really decide for herself that like, okay, let's do this. And then we were like, okay, I got to change all my plans. Like I'm gonna terminate that lease at that other place and let's go find a place for ourselves. And somehow we landed with this space that's like so fucking. It's like it's truly magical. Like the energy inside is just like, wow, this place is it. And even compounded by the lady who was just like, I don't care about your guys's like finances or like how like what you look like on paper. I like you guys. I know you're
Yeah.
gonna be fine. I know you're gonna be able to like pay your rent and do all these things, but like you guys are who I want to be in my space. So it was a
She's
testament, to like us and who we are. It's
yeah.
like, let's not tell her that 4 days ago we were actually planning on
Okay.
breaking up. Yeah.
I
Um,
honestly, I think in my experience of relationships, there's ruptures, there's breakups. It's healthy. It's a very normal piece of it. Did you guys break up? No, maybe you just hit a valley and you had
yeah.
to figure things out. There's
Yeah.
no relationship, although our human brains would love them to be linear, black and white. We stay together and we're happy and our sex life stays great and we're wonderful and nobody looks at other people. That's just not reality.
Yeah.
That's not human. Breakups
Right.
are sometimes ruptures to create better intimacy, especially if you're not used to conflict resolution, like you guys beautifully danced through.
Yeah. It's been uh, like an accomplishment with myself that I feel like I feel like I've leveled up in the video game, metaphorically. Like I feel like I've kind of like hit a new checkpoint with myself where I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
have the capacity to This decision really required me to like build boundaries around like other aspects of my own life with my other relationships, but also just with myself.
Yep.
And I know that it's going to be a lot of work moving forward as well. I know I'm not out of the woods yet, but I feel like for the first time, like it doesn't feel as aimless as it always has. It feels way more intentional, and
Yep.
I can kind of like see the light a little bit more, and I know that like there's direction moving towards that. Despite like I have, like 5 different projects going right now. One with Alan, one with another like starting a production company. I have this movie that I'm producing. I'm like working on some projects as an actor. I have this, and
White
it's
knuckle
great.
it.
What's that?
Don't white knuckle it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really trying to.
We're getting a chance to do things differently. It's very special. May
Yeah,
you always
yeah. Well,
be.
I think with Rachel and being able to do that with her is allowing me
Yeah.
it the waves of that act are kind of like hitting the shore of my own experience in everything else as well, and it's having this ripple effect into everything else where I'm kind of like stepping into a more patient, a more tolerant, and a more just like accepting version of who I assume I'm supposed to be, and allowing myself to just be, period.
What is
There's
what is your why for making films and acting? What is your why behind all that? Because that's a
I
lot of
think
work.
it's I think it's continuously shifting, but it really does feel like to be in service of stories that resonate with people in a way that connects us more towards our own empathy and our own ability to like connect with each other. Um, and the film work is just a platform to expand outside of that, to create reach, to then be able to just communicate with people. Let the work speak for itself, to create a conversation, then to be able to step away from it and to have those conversations and to connect with people as a result of the art that was produced and created.
Beautiful.
I don't know if that
Beautiful.
translates or not, but that
Yeah, it
that's
does.
what it feels like, truthfully. And it sometimes gets a little like um, precious, I
Yeah.
suppose,
Yeah.
because it feels so like meaningful. And sometimes I'm just like, I talked to somebody yesterday who like makes comedies and makes like really really wonderful, like I don't take myself too seriously, kind of like funny movies that are like, but also you have to take yourself seriously when you're making. It's not an easy thing. And
No.
but these movies have like a really like wonderful warm kind of like message throughout them, or they don't. And I was just like, God, man, it must feel so nice to just, I've been like, this movie that I made, I Am Erica, it has such a like dense subject. And I spent like 7 years prior to putting making it to screen, like writing it and revising it, because I didn't know how to like get it from page to the screen. And I spent so much time just being in this like kind of dark place that the movie kind of surrounds itself with. It's like uh, a soldier suffering with survivor's guilt dealing with a canceled actor. So like these two people are like have their own like baggage that's so personal and so like dark and sad and like corrupted in their own minds. And I just spent all this time kind of in that space. And
Hmm.
I was just like, God, it must feel, I just want to like, maybe I just want to do something funny. Maybe I just want to do something like more loosey goosey. Maybe I just want to do something that doesn't seem so like, oh, it needs to have this big giant message and I need to be able to connect to so many people and have empathy. It's just like, yes, that's overall the scope of this thing. But I also just want to like fucking write stupid fucking slapstick comedy where we fucking talk about farts and wangs and stuff,
Yeah.
and like,
And
you know,
scrolling
like,
on the toilet.
yeah, yeah. So I'm
I
trying to
know.
find the balance there with like not having to take myself so seriously as an artist and just have a little bit more fun with it as well.
Yeah.
But I think both. I don't think they are mutually exclusive. I think you can like. I think you can do both. Um,
Yeah.
I'm trying to find that space. How about you? Do you feel? Do you feel? How do you feel about that? And what's your why?
What my why, oh my gosh, between what I do is to remind people who they are. Because I think
Mm,
so many people forget who they are. We're born knowing, and then we go through life and our egos grow up, and adults tell us, and then pain directs us towards things that astrology is just a remembrance. I always get so many people say, I want to book a reading because what's my purpose? What's the
mm,
point of my life? I'm like, you already know that. You don't need me to tell you. You know. I'm just reminding you, your birth chart is a soul's blueprint. If you believe in incarnation, you came here and said, wow, what the hell is this place? This is wild. How do I navigate through this? Oh, here you go. Here's your birth chart. This will give you a good idea, a map. But very often we say, screw that shit. I'm just going to do what my ego wants. Ooh, it feels good to be famous. I'm going to move to LA. Was that really what I was meant to do? Hmm. So that is my why, is to just remind people of who they are. And of course, rooted in my own journey of forgetting who I was. If I was rooted in who I was, I would have never gotten married. I would have never done so many things.
yeah,
So, to prevent people from experiencing some of those things, it's astrology. That's my
yeah. It's
why.
powerful.
Yeah. And I'm slowly moving into being a novelist. My dream is to write a novel that gets turned into a film. Ultimate, ultimate dream.
I call being in
Calling
it.
it.
Will
Yeah.
you act in it? Will you
Ooh,
be an
I would
actor?
love
Have you ever
it
thought
if
about
I
that?
was just like an extra, like serving them a coffee and I'm just one flash scene. You know how they always do that with authors?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's what I would love.
Like
Not
like
like a
uh,
main arc hero, but
Alfred Hitchcock always has like a little tiny cameo in his films and stuff like that.
yes, little
I feel
cameos.
like you'd
That
be really good at acting,
you think
or
so?
because it's not, when you break it down, you like, to be good at acting requires you to not act, right? It requires you to be honest and truthful, and to like it just in a imaginary circumstance. So it's difficult because of that. But if you can actually just be honest and
Yeah,
live in that space, which I think is what you're doing anyways,
yeah,
I think that's like the first notion of, or like necessity requirement of
actor.
being a good actor. Now there's other actors who can act and they can indicate that they are doing this thing. I don't fall into that category. I don't know how to like really fake it. I do sometimes because I have to get it done, but it
Yeah,
feels miserable, and I'm so out of it, and it just doesn't feel right. And I don't even necessarily think I'm that good at doing that way. And it's not to say that, oh, I need to like do heroin to be a heroin addict, but I have to find something that feels personal enough to me to attach myself to the emotional and physical value of like what that thing would be. And fortunately for you, we have so much lived experience that we can pull from and affiliate towards like the thing that we need to step into. So it's not like, oh, this guy's like a murderer. Well, I've never murdered people, but like, how many times have you hurt somebody? How many times have you betrayed somebody or made somebody
oh yeah.
feel a certain way? So you like tap into those things, and it takes you to a pretty gnarly place. But I feel
So
like,
sick. How do you
I feel,
feel after a day of being on set where you have to channel all these different emotions? You must
it,
feel like,
yeah, it
give me.
depends on what you're doing, right? Like
Yeah,
if you're just doing silly things, it's like silly and fun and just like collaborative and fun. But like if you're doing something really really dense, like when I did my film, it was tough, because I'm playing like this canceled actor who's been like allegedly uh, um, like been this rapist, and who like like did some really fucked up things in his past. Whether that's true or not has to be up to me. um, I'm contending with like the pressures that that's putting on me, and all while like going through this like emotional boot camp with with this Medal of Honor recipient who's fucking beating my ass, and she's a woman, and she's just fucking, and she's dealing with her own shit, and I'm like discovering that in the process, and you know, trying to like reconcile what my what my trauma is in opposition to hers, and then realizing you can't compare the two. Like we're all living our own experiences, and this is we're all we all grieve, and grief is the one common denominator amongst all of us. And so like dealing with grief in as a character or playing into that, yeah, you kind of walk away being like, geez, like that's it's heavy. You know, I have to put myself in a heavy space to bring that out of myself. I can't just like turn on and turn off. When
Yeah.
we finished that movie, when we wrapped our last day, we were out in Lake Arrowhead in California in Big Bear,
Mm.
and just so beautiful, out in the middle of the woods. We did our last shot, and we called cut and wrap of the movie. And I walked into the woods and wept like I have never wept in my entire life. So much catharsis and like emotional weight of like writing this project. And so it like, if there's 5 phases of grief and the last ends in acceptance, I feel like I created a sixth, which was like releasing, like the
Oh,
releasing of the acceptance. Like I had accepted what I had been going through, and then I like came to producing like the thing that was all of it put together as a cumulative object, which is the movie. And then I had finished it, and it was like all this outpouring of like grief and love and joy and sadness and everything all wrapped up into one. For like 45 minutes, I was just in the woods, just weeping like hard, uncontrollably. And it
oh,
was kind of beautiful.
better pay
And,
for that.
you know, it's just, it's hard. Like this work is, is, uh, is so challenging. Your work is so challenging. Just being honest, being somebody who's willing enough to be transparent about who they are, and giving themselves permission to be truthful
Thank you.
about who they are and why they are, is
Yeah.
something that I don't think our culture really like does enough
The
of.
opposite. You want to look good on social media. You want your life to look grand. Filters.
Yeah.
Just posting the good stuff, which is good because I like social media for looking at the happiness of others. But then it's like, wait, that
Same.
happiness is actually fake. That's actually not how you really feel. Because thank you for that compliment. I appreciate that. And a lot of people do say, how are you so vulnerable? How are you so honest? And I am. What you see is what you get. There's no difference when you meet me in person, but I do have quite a few dark demons within me, as I'm sure people can just sense and feel looking and hearing my voice. And those things I haven't hidden, strategically hidden from the world. They're just things that I need to process and go through in my own time, but they are things that at this point in my life I am very ready to write about, because writing, you get kind of a wall between you and the person taking it in. Speaking is very intimate, even if you can't see the people you're speaking to. And so I want to share some of the more darker things that I've experienced in a novel. Oh, so
Then you
that's
will.
where, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
And
mean
it's
your transparency as just like a public person is very admirable, and it's really um, I think, I mean, it definitely resonates with me, and it clearly resonates with the people that listen to you and patronize your art.
yeah,
But it comes with a cost at the same time, and like your demons, so to speak, um, kind of are like a reflection of your humanity.
yeah,
And like I'm just curious, just because this podcast is like essentially about like how do you stay in it, like
yeah.
when the universe is kind of giving you signs to turn around and go back the other way, like
Yeah.
how do you keep going with this, I guess, like being transparent and being honest about the process is helpful. It's helpful for me too. But how do you specifically like stay in this and stay inspired to keep going and like keep your self-worth intact and your like heart filled
Yeah.
when 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 it's not? Because I know there are many times when it's not. And how do you like turn yourself around and keep going?
Keep going down the path. You're right. Oh my gosh, so many things. Number one, isolation. I need alone time to just call my energy back and to remember. I love to travel, even if it's just a town over, because when you pull yourself out of your comfort zone and go somewhere where you have to use the GPS to go to the gas station, you start to see other people's lives and realize your problems that you're making so big are actually this
Mm-hmm.
small, right? I love to experience different people, different places. It reminds me of that. Isolation reminds me of that. My partner, Baby J, JL, he really anchors me and shows me the authenticity of real love that doesn't give up on you, even in rough seasons. I love to go home to the Midwest, to this tiny town on the Kentucky border where there's just nobody because they live in such a different way. I mean, taking you out of New York City and putting you in a tiny Midwest town, you'd be like, probably so inspired. It would be a muse for you to see how people still live. I mean, it's like they're permanently stuck in 1985. And
Mm,
while it's kind of sad, it's also kind of inspiring to see, wow, these people live such boring Dollar General gas station for fun, Walmart lives that remind you of, whoa, again, my problems that I thought were so big are actually so small. And
yeah,
to see the resiliency of these people when they go through such difficult things and how they work in factories making minimum wage, yet they still have so much fun together. And they don't realize what else lies beyond or how much money can get you certain things. They're just so focused on the present moment. It's really interesting. So, big Sagittarius energy coming out of me. I just go place myself in different towns, cities. Texas is so inspiring. I don't know how to order barbecue down here. I'm like, you ride a horse for fun? What? All these different cultures just totally inspires me to think, oh, the shit I'm dealing with is actually universal. It's not as
yeah.
bad or as rare as I thought it was. In fact, talking to other people, I'm pretty lucky. I'm pretty safe. My demons are actually just little barking chihuahuas compared to some other things. So that's what I do. Yeah.
That's awesome. I need to learn how to isolate myself and kind of get out more often.
Especially right now, when I look at your chart, I would say just keep going as you are, but try not to start too many new projects or don't feel like from now until next April. Don't feel like you need to make such a big decision like breaking up with someone or getting a new place. You've already done those things. But I
Mm,
would just kind of coast and do a cathartic conversations like this. Go upstate New York. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful up there.
yeah.
Go to Vermont. Go
Hmm.
somewhere in New England where it's so pretty during the summer to really sit with yourself and
Yeah.
see what's going on in here because you, my friend, are on the brink of a massive transformation that is a once in a lifetime type of pivot. Do you feel that on the edge of that?
Yeah, I feel like I'm in it.
Yeah, you are. Oh, you definitely are. I'm sure this is not news to you, what I say.
Just
And the
yeah,
next
well, it
big
is. It is. You know, it's nice to like be validated, and you know, I trust you. I hear you, and
yeah.
um, yeah. But being inside of it doesn't really give you any real perspective on stuff. You know, you're just, and I'm really trying to like unclench the white knuckle grip, you know, and not like have these unrealistic expectations for myself, and do coast, you know, and do take it easier and go have
Mhm.
some fun. Like get it's fucking 99 degrees out here. I'm trying to go swim in a lake.
I
Like I'm trying, you
know.
know, I'm trying to go like just
How have you
enjoy.
helped Rachel adjust to New York? Because I'm sure if she's a Florida girl, she's like, hey, when can we leave the city and go do something in the
Yeah.
woods?
Well, we just went to Jones Beach the other day, and I didn't even know about Jones Beach. It's like the prettiest beach out here, and it's like 45 minutes away. I had no, because there's like Coney Island, which is just a dump, and then there's like Rockaway Beach, which is also just a dump. And there's these beaches out here that are like popular are just dumpy, and
Yeah.
I was working out on Long Island doing a shoot, and a friend that was doing it with me was just like, "Hey man, you ever been to Jones Beach?" I was like, "No."
Yeah.
So he drove me out there, and it was like 15 minutes away from where we were. I was like, "This place is incredible." So we
Yeah.
went out there and we saw that, and she was like, "Oh, this is right. This is nice." I got sunburned AF because I'm a guy who's just like, I'm Ecuadorian. I don't need anything on my
I'm
body.
Victorian. I remember your
And
trip out there you took a few years ago. Remember? The
yeah,
picture. You had the time of
yeah,
your life.
yeah, it was awesome. It was a moment of like, that was kind of in the beginning of a transitionary phase for me as well. I'm still
Yeah.
stepping into it. But yeah, I mean, she's, I think, accepting, I think like, she doesn't care where she is as long as like she knows that she is with somebody who actually like cares about her the way she deserves to be cared about,
Yep.
and like is safe in that thing. Like she was telling me, she's like, I'll go to the end of the world with you if you like, if you will with me. Just I just
Oh,
need to know that you will. Like it doesn't matter where we are, as long as I'm like happy and safe with my partner. Like I'm going to take care of you, and I'm going to be anywhere. Now that's not to say that she's just like, New York is so great because it's
yeah.
fucking high strung all the time, and I am a product of that energy. 13 years in, I'm just like rooted in this way. We got, when she first came here, we went to
Yeah.
go see a movie, and we were walking out of the movie theater, and there was a high speed chase, and the car came up on the sidewalk and literally was running over tables on the street on the sidewalk, and hit me. I like jumped up on the hood and like hit it, almost
Did
hit
she think
her.
you surprised her on set? She's like, Julian,
Yeah.
this isn't funny.
Yeah, well, this was like one thing out of like many other things. Her car got broken into twice. Like it was, many things
Oh.
were going on, but we literally were like, we were hit by the car in the high speed chase. We were okay. The car took out like a bunch of tables on the sidewalk, and like hit some like servers that were like going out and like helping their customers. It was crazy. Well,
Oh my
after the
God.
fact, she like went and was telling one of our mutual friends about this, and she was like, "Oh my god, did Julian tell you that we like got hit by this, like this high speed chase was happening?" And he was just like, "No, he didn't tell me that at all." She was like, "You didn't tell Nate that like that this happened?" I was just like, "Oh, I kind of forgot about it." It was on top of her mind for like a month, but for me, I realized like I'm just desensitized to think like it. Not that it wasn't a big deal, but like it was in my mind while it was in my mind, and then it was out because we were fine, and I just kind of like moved through my day thereafter. And she was like traumatized.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like we're living very different experiences, where she's kind of like, dude, this place is fucking crazy. And I'm just like, I feel like calm in chaos at this point almost.
Oh no. Have you
Yeah.
ever considered leaving New York?
I've been considering it more and
Yeah.
more. I just need to like, I don't know. I don't want to think that I just need to be in an industry town so that I can like get acting jobs when they come my way. Like I want to keep acting, but I also want to, and I want to keep acting like in shows and in films that like aren't that don't have to do with me. But I don't know. I want to like take a play out of your notebook and just be more like willing to step away from all that and like let it come to me as it will, and
Yeah.
not have to like think I'm so in control of like
Yeah.
what's happening, because the energy of these cities, like if even if I got like, I would never live back in LA specific, but I might go like outside of it or somewhere in California just because it's close by to the industry.
Right.
I just don't want that to be as much of a priority as it is at this point in my life, because so many more
Absolutely.
things make me happy, and being in
Yeah.
other places and being around community and friends and like good and just things that actually make me inspired are
Yeah.
important, because I feel like I'll have uh, a better outlet to create in a
Exactly.
space that like gives me that inspiration and gives me that space,
There you go.
rather than
There you
just being like New York feels like a fucking tsunami, where I'm like, you walk outside every day and you're kind of just like, all right, I gotta like drop in. I gotta drop in on this gigantic wave that if I fall, I'm going to die. And I've learned how to like ride very poorly on this tsunami every day that I step outside. But it's like, it's like it's it's hard, and it's a lot of energy to just like stay on the board and keep cruising, and like my legs are wobbly, and my quads are hurting, and like my body's tired, and it's tough. Um, but
How
it
on
feels
earth
that
do you
way
create authentic, collective, giving art from an energetic space like that?
because it feels like it has to happen. Like it feels
Ah,
like the pressure of like the need to keep being driven is just like this obsession that I'm not saying that this is a healthy approach by any means, but
yeah,
I feel like the calm and the chaos. Like I honestly feel like it's just my routine now, whereby if I went to Texas, or if I went to some other like smaller market
yeah.
or some smaller town, I would like my legs would still be wobbly. I'd still feel like I'm when you're on a boat for a long time and you get off and you're kind of just like sea legs, you're just like, whoa, what the hell? So it'd take me a long time to recover from
Tried
that.
going gentle into the change, like just a little upstate New York where you can still drive into the city but still have a quiet town because New York is gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I do, but they're always like these intentional vacations to like get away and like write, or like get away, have like a writing retreat, or like they always have
Yeah.
something associated with like productivity. Rachel and I have gone to the Poconos and just like turned off. It's always nice, but like, just like everything, like that's over, and then you're back to the city again. You're just like, okay, keep going. So
Dive back into the tsunami. Ah,
back
well,
into
in
the
order to get
tsunami.
what you've never had, you've got to do what you've never done. I
Yeah,
want you to remember the quote.
yeah, it's true. It's true.
Ooh. Oh.
Well, you're the best, Stephanie. I appreciate
You're
you so much coming, and I know that this
Me
was
and
actually
JJ
kind of
are huge fans of yours. We are hoping for the
okay.
Valentine's Day special to come back because that was amazing.
Yeah, I know. That was a wild experience.
You guys had
I
so much fun creating that, didn't you?
That was the best. Like that was when I look back at my life. I when I think about like times that I have been the most full and the
Yeah.
most like in love with myself, it was really during like that pandemic when I was just like hanging out with my friends and creating stuff.
For fun. For
It was the
fun.
best, and it's just like, well, you can do that. You can keep
Yeah.
doing that. It's hard. It's not just like some easy thing, but like you can figure out how
Yeah.
to do that again. And
Yeah.
I have a whole musical comedy written for me and Alan. A whole like beautiful. It's kind of like you ever seen the movie Once?
Once. No, I
I
don't think
think you'd
so.
really resonate. It's really beautiful. It's like this kind of like
One.
folky love story that's like a musical as well, about like these two guitar players that are like playing out in Ireland, and they meet each other, fall in love. But it's kind of if once A Star Is Born and Kingpin had a baby, or like Dumb and Dumber. It's like all of these movies kind of like conjoined together.
What?
Um, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, but very cute. It's called Breakfast Cookies, um, and it's very sweet.
How did you get
uh,
the name breakfast cookies?
Alan, I wrote the story at Alan is like he like works in a farmer's market, and he sells breakfast cookies. And but he has this like gorgeous voice, but he lives in this like little tiny podunk town where like it doesn't really matter. Everybody knows in his town, but then like this like high energy, high strung, like shitty agent from New York comes to visit his girlfriend's family for the holidays, and he like steps into like this little bar where he's doing like an open mic night, and he meets him, and it's just like, oh my god, you're my ticket to like success. But Alan's character is just like, I
No.
don't, that's not me, It's just like, no, you have to be. And so it like creates this tension between them, and they start to like develop this really loving relationship. And there's like manipulation tactics from this character who's like, I, I need, he like convinces him to like, go have his Capitol Records moment and stuff, and pulls him out of his like life that he has. And then really like kind of comes full circle to realize like the most important thing in life is really just breakfast cookies. You know, it's just like the thing that you actually are passionate about and you care about. And like this guy comes to realize that too. And it's just like, oh yeah, that's what it's always been about. It's not about this fame, success, big thing. It's just about the simple cookie, you know?
Do you
Like,
realize you're writing your own manual?
yeah, yeah, I know. I
Please tell
know.
me the burning car makes a cameo.
The who?
The car on fire in front of Capitol.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, we'll have to get some
That is a
pyrotechnics for that.
core traumatic memory that deserves its own moment in some
Yeah.
film you create.
Well, we
And
play
you need to have
exaggerated versions of ourselves, obviously, um,
yeah.
but yeah, it's a beautiful story, and it's really like kind of like lovely and charming and all of the things, and it just like it's gonna be so fun to shoot with him and to
Do you
there's it's like it's a musical in it because it's not a musical in the terms of like hello my darling hello. It's like Alan like plays these songs throughout the movie that are like that's him actually like performing these songs, and that like becomes its own album in and of itself, probably called Breakfast Cookies. um, and that can like go out with the movie as well. And
are you
yeah,
acting in it?
yeah, I play the agent, and he plays the breakfast cookie guy.
The chemistry between you two is just undeniable.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
when do you
it's
start
fun.
shooting this?
We don't have plans yet. It's
Oh,
written. Yeah, I've like written it,
oh,
and it's like a project that's like in development. We it's just
Rachel
like
needs to make a cameo.
yeah, you do too. Come
Okay,
on down.
fine.
You can read our fortunes. Maybe I'll write a scene where we're like at like a little fortune
Yes.
teller, and you can be like the crazy lady with the crystal
Crystal
ball.
ball.
Yeah,
Yes. Oh my God, please.
yeah,
Please.
yeah,
I'm there. I'm there.
yeah. That's funny. You'd be like the woman in Pee Wee Herman with like tells him that his bicycle is in the Alamo. The Alamo.
Yes. Yes. I would
That would be
love to.
amazing.
Yes. We could come up with something hilarious
Yeah,
and call it Lightworkers Lounge because people will
yeah,
know. Hey, wait a second.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Product placement.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yes.
have a bunch of projects going. I have a bunch of projects always going, and like it takes a village to really get these things like moving. But they're
Yeah.
like I know that they are going to get made. It's just a matter of when. Like Alan's on tour right now. We also have
Yeah.
a reality show that we're like in production with working on that's like it's called Band Aid, like working title. It's essentially like bar rescue for bands, where Alan is like the mentor that comes into like these small towns and like finds these really wonderful artists that just like don't have the wherewithal to get themselves out of these little tiny towns because they don't have the resources, they don't have the knowledge, they just don't know what to do. And so Alan goes in as like this mentor and helps them facilitate all of the ways to like build their business and to get better and to like show their music to the world outside of assuming that they need to go on American Idol or The Voice or something like that.
Right.
And so it's kind of like a reality, like a music singing reality show, but that's like in opposition to the music singing reality TV shows. um, and like if you do all of the assignments and the activities and the tasks appropriately and you win, you get to like go on tour with Alan and like get to show up and do his like Stone Family field trip and get to do stuff with him. So we
That
got a
is
lot of
so
projects.
cool. Yeah, you
um,
too. You're always on to something. And thank you for sharing the timeline of them because my novel, I've had this idea in my head. I even have the title. It's funny, the title came to me first for years, like 3, 4 years. And so I kind of beat myself up and saying, girl, get this out. Get the
yeah,
publisher, get it done. But it just doesn't feel right. I get spurts of working
yeah.
on it. And I tell myself, 7 years, 10 years. But then I hear from artists like yourself or, the book, what is it called? Where the Crawdads Sing.
Mm-hmm.
She took freaking 10 to 20 years to write that bestseller.
For sure.
So it's like, oh, okay. It's
Just
not
keep coming
just that.
back to it. Just keep
Is
coming
that
back to
how
it.
your process works?
Yeah, I shelved my story. The I Am Erica movie that I did, um, like was shelved for probably like 3 years. Within that time frame, like I didn't even like consider it.
Uh,
And then I came back to it, and I actually like just made a whole different story because I had changed in the process. Because it was such a personal story that like I revised it, and then it changed to something new, continued to change with me. And really it happened that way because for me it was like I was going to turn it into a movie, and I just like I didn't have the resources yet to know how to get it off the page and put it into like it's easier said than done. Oh yeah, just make a movie. Okay, well this takes effort, and getting a published book is it's not just some simple thing. Like you write it and then it's just like,
Mm.
okay, cool. Now I need people to read this. Now I need like to put this into the world. And so how the fuck do I do that? So there's all these different approaches to doing it. And yeah, I think just like keep coming back to it. I just kept coming back to it. It was always calling back to me. Just like your novel is always calling back to you. It's even if it's just like the idea, if it's just like the thought of it, that's enough. You don't even have to go back and write, because sometimes I would do that. I would like force myself to go write, and I would
Yeah.
just sit there and look at my computer screen for like 7 hours and not write one
Yeah.
word. And I'd spend the whole day just like chugging coffee and grinding my teeth and just like nothing. And it's like, okay, well, I could have just gone outside and like got some inspiration from like going to the
Yeah.
park
Yeah.
and like actually
Thank
had
you
some,
for
I could have
sharing
eaten
that.
today, you know?
I could have I could have scrolled while taking a poop, but no, I'm
Yeah,
sitting
yeah,
here
exactly. Maybe I would have
trying to
found
get
another
the
girlfriend.
script out. Thank you, because I did that over the winter time. We rented this beautiful cottage on the Texas coast, and I was like, "Yep, that's like the perfect place to write a book." But I would sit at my computer and be like, "Wow, I feel so mentally handicapped right now. I can't
Yeah,
even form a sentence to speak, never mind type." And I would beat myself up. I'm
yeah,
so linear in that I'm like a perfectionist and a very hard worker,
sure.
that I tell myself, okay, the idea has been conceived. Now you must just work, work, work to get it out. I'm going to keep that phrase you use, shelved, to know, to tell myself it's okay to shelve ideas. It's just up on a shelf. It doesn't mean you're throwing it in the trash. It's just going to sit right there while
Yeah,
you go out and find another muse to keep it going. Thank you for that.
for
Because I
sure.
look at
And it's,
creativity and projects from such a linear lens that in itself can cripple me from
well,
achieving
yeah, I mean, like,
completion.
how else do you know before you've done it that there's any other way to do it other than just going through it, right? And so I
Mm,
felt that way too, where it's just like, I just need to keep doing this until it's done and at all costs. And it's just like, okay, and I would, but then like you get something done and it's just like you go back, you spend some time away from it, and then you go back and you read it and you're like, well, okay, this isn't great, I can do better. So you go back to the drawing board and revise it again, and then you revise it again. It's all the edit, it's all just like going back
yeah,
and revising. That's like really the work of a writer. You can like get the outline, you understand what you're trying to say, but then it's really just like going and fine tuning, just like chipping away at the ice sculpture, and just making it perfect. It's just like
that's
having a
right.
block is like, okay, cool, like I can start chipping away at this, but then like it starts getting hard once you actually have to start like putting the as an ice sculpture, like the
Yeah,
definitions of like the tricep on the statue, or whatever it is. So
yeah,
it's
yes,
challenging. It's like losing weight or something. It's like, if you have
yeah,
100 pounds to lose, the 75 are like relatively easy. It's the 25 after that are like the hard part, because that stuff just kind of melts off. Not to discredit the hard work of losing that kind of weight, but at the same time, it's like, it's really the
yeah,
fine tuning part that gets the
yeah.
most
I
challenging.
get
And I think,
nasty. My inner voice gets nasty though, because if I just accept, like, okay, I got writer's block, go do something else, go walk the dog, go to the beach, do anything to just shift your environment. I'll tell myself, well, some of the greatest novelists sit down, they're writing right now. Your future competition when it comes to getting on the New York Times bestsellers, they're sitting down writing right now. And here
yeah,
you are just fucking around with the pug. Like, it's not
yeah,
going to happen.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's something I work with, is telling myself, chill. You don't know their writing process. You have no idea.
Somebody asked me what my inner voice looked like,
Oh,
and I tried to explain it, because as I was trying to like process what that even like what that would look like. I came up with the fact that like this was like a drill sergeant, like a monster, like not even an actual human being drill sergeant, but like a character that's like a big burly monster with like spikes, that's like paint that can hurt me, that's like saying, "Hey, fuckface, Get to work, you fucking bitch. Stop acting like that. Stop being a fucking idiot. You are a complete loser. You're worthless. Nobody gives a fuck about you. Get up and make something happen, you complete pile of shit. And it's just like, whoa. And I wake
Reading
up with
my
that.
inner voice. Mine's a little more female, but
Yeah,
same message.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy. And it's
Wow,
just
you
like,
should make that
whoa.
a character in a movie. You know how many people would love that and be like, "Wow, that's mine too."
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's like, what's crazy is that I've like appreciated that guy before. And I've like let that guy lead me.
Ooh.
And now I'm starting to be like, fuck off, dude.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, thank you for like getting me here. But I'm also just like, here is just riding this tsunami wobbly and being like, oh my god, I don't want to fall because if I fall, I'm gonna fucking get washed out and drown. It's just like, dude, this lifestyle is wild. And I gotta
very.
learn how to just like
Yeah,
take it easier and
yeah.
like know that like what will be. It's not even like so much shit's not even in my control anyways. Like you're not in control of it as it is. Just let it like keep working the way you want to work. Keep writing the way you want to work. Shelve it if you need to. Come back to it when you can. Like this project with me and Alan. It's just like I wrote it like 2-3 years ago. It's fine. It's written. We'll get to it. We'll get to it when it's
Okay,
right.
so all those notes I have in my phone, just when I'm on a bike ride, I'm like, "Oh, that would be so good." I mean, I've got hundreds of notes of
Same.
random ideas.
Maybe you should
Wow.
start doing stand-up comedy and just like turning all of your things into like little bits and just like talking about your
We've
process.
talked
And
about Baby J doing that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I've talked about it too. It's so scary, so
It is
scary.
scary.
Yeah,
But
it's
you
like the
get to
most
like
vulnerable
form an
thing.
alter ego.
Yeah,
It's not really you up there, it's someone else.
yeah. I mean, or it's just totally you. Whatever you choose, right? Like 'cause you can do whatever
Yeah.
you want.
Hey, I know we have to go, but can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about sharing your creations on social media? What is your relationship to social media in terms of social media marketing or going on there to get inspiration? Where are you at with that?
So conflicted. I
Yeah.
I I feel like I'm constantly in pursuit of growth with like because I put stuff up there. Primarily it's this stuff at this point. It's just like podcast stuff. And if I have
Right.
something creative to share, then like I'll share that as well. But I'm not
Yeah.
really like this is so transparent and like about like where I'm at in my life that it kind of feels already like it's me sharing my life. But it's also
Yeah.
I'm not like here putting like, hey, like I'm brushing my teeth and walking my dogs. I'm not doing that, which I feel like I could do if I wanted to, but because I'm precious about it and what goes out, there will be
Yeah.
moments like during the pandemic, I did this thing called the Quarantine Chronicles. And for 56 days straight, I put up a new video of me doing anything creative. And it was absolutely incredible. I taught myself how to edit during that time because I went from like making just straight up like videos with me putting my phone on me to like, well, now I'm going to clip videos together and now I'm going to like add some little like dialogue and like captions and now I'm going to add this. And now I'm going to add some stuff. I just like fully every day I was like one upping myself and making like these videos and doing these little creative things, whether it was me like doing a monologue or it was me going out to uh,
Gross.
the park and meditating in Times Square, or it was me like it was all of these different things that I was doing, and I loved it so much because I wasn't being precious about it, and now I'm precious about what I put out into the world, and so I feel like it's got to be something good. It's got to be like I got to be exceptional. I got to be like amazing with everything that goes out, and it really hinders me from just being like present with like or because I also feel like, oh shit, like it's Thursday, I gotta post something. It's like, dude, nobody's waiting for me to post anything. Nobody's just like,
They're gonna
I wonder
find
where
you knocking
Julian's
on the
post
door.
is. I wonder like when that's gonna come out. Nobody's thinking that. And like, and I also have like an unhealthy relationship with like the viewership of stuff. Like if people don't see enough of it, it's just like I don't want that to like lessen my, faith in it as a thing. I don't want to feel like, oh, I didn't do a good job because like less people liked this than other people did. And so it's conflicted, I just feel I wish I could not have it. I wish I could like let my work speak for itself and like it wasn't necessary. And I don't think it's necessary, but it's just kind of part of my world, I guess. And it just, I don't know. It feels complicated.
It's complicated.
How about
Yeah.
you?
Same here.
Yeah.
I started my career on social media, essentially just posting on the Lightworkers Lounge, and that took off. I was
Yeah.
growing 3,000 followers every other day. It was huge.
How did
But
it happen? Just because it was happening? Just it was just like
I
resonating with so many people that
so many people at
that's
the
so
time.
cool.
I don't understand when people ask me, "How do you go viral?" I was like, "Yo, I don't know."
Yeah,
Because
nobody
mine
knows.
stemmed from trauma. Go through something hard and share it right in the middle of the moment and cross your fingers. I mean, hey, when I shared that, I did get a lot of hate. Oh, I got
Mm,
canceled many a times as I was
yeah.
taking off. So you got to have such thick skin to understand that. But all of a sudden, I think I became trauma bonded with my audience because they did expect a new post because I was posting 3 times a day:
Mm.
breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner. It got to a point where I started dating JL and he would come over and I'd be like, oh, hold on one sec. I forgot to post my dinner post. I'd make it and he would just watch how fast. And he was probably like, dang, this girl's got issues. But it was just so off the fingers. So most recently, over the last 6 months, I haven't posted to my Instagram since
I noticed that.
January.
I went on your page to look at stuff today
And
and
you're like,
yesterday, and I was like,
"Oh,
whoa, nothing's been updated for like a year or something.
nothing." And that is
Yeah.
so weird for me. It's been such a difficult, dark transformation over here too, because I'm like, why would I give up the thing that created my career? But I will tell you, my podcast has never been doing better, and my reading schedule is now till October. I'm booked solid.
Wow,
And I
that's
don't
so
post
great.
a single thing on social media. And when I was trying to create content, I mean, creating good content takes hours. Like you said, it was precious. I had to do it right. The aesthetic had to be the same. I had to schedule it all the time. I was draining my artist battery trying to keep up with that. And then I find that people on social media, whether they're consciously aware of it or not, they're going for a quick hit of dopamine. They're not going to absorb long form content. They're not going to watch I America and get the deep meaning behind it. They just want a quick hit. They want to see
Yeah.
how your relationship is doing. Is it good? Is it bad? How can I judge you off of it? For astrology, they just want to go and learn about themselves. They don't want to invest the time and money into a full hour and a half with me to go over their chart. And so I thought, let me just go where it feels good, which was always the podcast and a newsletter I send out every Monday. Let me
Mm,
pour all of my energy on that. And then took off.
that's
But
nice.
it's,
Yeah,
yes.
I've been struggling to figure out what value I have like in my like projected image of what I do in post. It's like what like because things are specific, like podcasts, even like your podcast is specific to astrology, and like Lightworkers Lounge is like its own thing, its own niche thing.
Mhm.
Even with how good's this, it's like, okay, cool. Because of Alan, like there is a specific niche because of him as a public person. But like this
Yeah.
thing, it's like, yes, it's talking to artists. It's like kind of exploring the in between of like the work and how we navigate our space. But like, it's not really like an actor podcast or like a musician podcast or like a astrologer. It's nothing. It's just kind of like this general thing. So I'm trying to be like, what value am I giving to people to like target a demographic for people to even like get into this? Does it just is it just resonating with human beings? I hope so, but like,
Yeah.
how does it translate like and create more reach? And I don't know. I guess like me, the only thing I can do is just keep doing it and just
Keep
keep
doing
having
it.
these conversations. And because ultimately, like, I truly am not doing this because of like trying to get famous or trying to get like huge viewers or huge numbers. Or I mean, that's great if that happens, but that's ultimately like not my my
Yeah.
purpose in any of this. It's really just to connect with you and to have these conversations and to be like, hey, like you're not alone, and oh, I'm not alone either. It's awesome, cool. I'm glad we got there, you know. And
That's what they want. That's what they want. They don't care about the audio. They don't care about the previews. I don't even create previews. I don't promote anything. And
yeah,
my audio has dogs barking, kids knocking on the door,
yeah, yeah, same.
people coming in. People, they don't care. It's all about the energy and the message. And
Yeah,
that's what you are creating here, something so special.
yeah. Well, right back at you. I mean, you have always been, since we met you the first time, and prior to doing that, you know, you've been
Yeah.
putting the good word out there into the world, and it's very admirable. And I've always kind of like looked at you from afar and really like respected and appreciated the work that you've done. And I've always felt like this kind of connection to you from afar, even though we've like never actually even like been in the same space together. It's always
Yeah.
been like, oh, she's my people, man. She's like really solid and like honest and real. And
Yeah.
it's no surprise that your work kind of speaks for itself and has reach and continues to do that. And I have no doubt in my mind that your novel won't get made, published, and reach like way beyond your wildest dreams. And you'll be like, what the fuck? This is
Yeah.
crazy. Like, I'll come and see you at a book signing at a Barnes and Noble one day and just be like, I told you,
I know her.
fucking asshole.
Please don't have a car blowing up
Yeah,
outside of
yeah,
Barnes.
yeah. Maybe I just will, just for show.
Yes. Yeah, if I do a book signing, I'll make sure it's on a toilet so it looks like I'm just
Perfect.
scrolling, but I'm signing books
Perfect.
till my feet
Yeah.
go numb.
Well, I so appreciate you being on this
Yeah.
podcast and chatting with me. It's always so nice to get to reconnect with you. Um, I feel like you asked me way more than I asked you, and so it was really kind of like, you know, that's never really the case. But I appreciate you doing that with me, um,
But that's
and
good for
we can
your
do this. We
listeners.
can do this often. You know, like this isn't just. There's no rules here. You know, that's the beauty of it all.
Always. Always.
Yeah,
I think we should do a whole episode where I read your birth chart and just shock you with key dates.
let's do it.
Call you out on some things in that beautiful chart of yours. Your
Yeah,
final
and
weather forecast is that next summer is going to be wonderful for you. That's what
cool.
I'll say.
I love it. You're the best, Steph.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing your light with the world,
Always.
with me.
Always.
I hope your reach helps this podcast go viral.
Yeah. Oh,
I hope things you said that I pull out and put up on the social media makes
yeah.
the rest of the
Yeah.
world resonate with it and soar this bad boy to the stars.
Yeah. To this. Oh, look at you.
Oh man.
Do you want to say hi
Hey,
to
how's
Baby J?
Jeffrey? Is he okay?
He has been snoring away right here. I was trying to block his nose a little bit so you couldn't hear the.
Oh, sweet pup. That's awesome.
Yes. And Baby J is. Baby J, do
Baby
you want to come
Jay's
say
been there the
hello?
whole time?
No, not the whole time.
Oh, dude. Come on,
Buzz. Yeah.
Baby Jay. Dude, come on, bro. Let's go.
Come
We got to get you
on.
on this podcast so we can talk about you running 19,000 miles.
Yeah. What are you? A hug. Let's talk
Hug,
about
dude.
you running 19,000 miles.
What's up,
Dude,
man?
what's up, dude? We got to get
How
you
are
on. You
you?
want to do one? You want to do one with me?
I'm down. You tell me when.
Okay, I'll text you. We'll get it set up.
Cool.
That,
Yeah, shoot me
that's
a text.
that is artistry in its finest.
How was y'all's
I
podcast?
It
fucking
was
love you
good.
guys, man.
I was telling him how
I'm so happy you guys are thriving. Look at
I'm glad
this.
she's still with me too.
Yeah, I know. I actually
I
told
told
her
you
a
it's
whole
been
story
hard
about.
living in Texas.
Yeah, yeah. You guys are a beautiful couple, man. You guys are meant to be together, and I want to come. Where are you guys in Texas?
South of so like between Austin and San Antonio.
Yeah.
Okay,
So not far from Austin.
sweet.
So
Let's
He pulled
hang,
a girl
guys.
out
Come on.
and they're struggling. They broke up because she don't want to live there.
you got a girl from Florida to go to NYC.
Yeah, and she doesn't like it. Does that sound familiar?
I pulled a girl from NYC to come to Texas,
Yeah.
and yeah, God, it's so drastically different, just like in the
Yeah,
weather and culture. That yeah,
You pulled me
yeah.
from the Florida Keys.
Well,
technically. But I grew up in New England, so
Yeah.
that's what he's talking about.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's
God,
it's
yeah,
not easy,
that's a vast difference for sure.
but
Like
it's love,
Lucy,
man. It's
Oh
love.
yeah,
she says
I
I
see
hate it
it.
here. He takes it personally. When I say I hate Texas, he takes it
I
personally.
know.
Julian,
Look,
I
I
feel
take it
you.
personally too when she says, "But you're from Texas." I'm just like, I just am trying to like make New York make sense. So like, I actually have like a part of me that's just like, oh, I kind of hate it too, and I know you're right, but fuck,
Yeah,
you can't hate it here. So it's very challenging for me, but
it's
I
hard.
get
You
it. It's
navigate it
love, man.
though. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yep,
It's
Mm-hmm.
love.
yep.
I'm so happy that this was how the podcast ended. What a wonderful way.
Baby, remember we
Baby.
tried to meet you guys in Denver, but you guys
Yeah,
got sick.
yeah,
Alan
we
had
got
to
sick.
cancel.
Yeah, we had to cancel the whole show. That was awful.
We drove 5
Sucks.
hours to meet you. That's how much we love you.
I know. I know.
Well,
We'll
at
make it
least
happen
I mean,
again.
it was at a dope venue because it
Yeah,
was
we
at
still had a
the
blast.
Yeah. The
Meow Wolf.
Meow.
Meow Wolf. Yeah. Yeah.
That was incredible.
Um,
Yeah.
guys, I have somebody that's actually at my door that's trying to like bring people in to look at the place because we're moving out of here. So
Why? Text
I
me
gotta
later what you need.
I gotta go. You guys are the best. I'll send you guys both texts of love. We'll keep this conversation going. Thank you, Steph. Baby J. Thanks, brother,
Baby
for being here for a
Jane.
minute. I'll holler at you, man. We'll get a podcast going.
Okay, cool.
Promise.
Okay.
Text me.
Bye.
As always, thanks for tuning in. As always, thanks for tuning in. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to that episode of The Precipice of Delusion with Stephanie Powers. What'd you think? She's great, right? Yeah, I really like that girl a lot. Hope you got something out of it. Listen up, guys. If you haven't already checked out the Patreon page, that's where we really are able to keep this podcast going. I'm really trying to um, have longevity with this podcast. I'm really trying to build this studio out. I'm trying to start doing in-person things. And so the only way that we are able to manage all of that is if you are able to support me and this podcast. I know you want to. I know you can. It's as low as $5 a month. You can go on there. I got all sorts of fun things up on that page, from puppet shows to movies that I've produced to scripts to audition tapes to exclusive podcasts. I got a lot of things up there and I'm continuing to put more things up. So if you want to check it out, make sure you go to patreon.com/the precipice of delusion. Precipice is tricky to spell, so make sure you get it right. It's PRECIPICE, the precipice of delusion. Yeah, make sure you check that out, guys. If you like this podcast, make sure you share it, talk about it, subscribe, follow us on whatever platform you're listening. The YouTube's not getting much traction, so I was thinking about just making this an audio podcast. As much as I want our viewership to go up, it just doesn't have that much of a production value to it quite yet until I start doing it in person. So, but it would still be cool if you'd subscribe to the YouTube page because everything helps. So yeah, guys, check out everything. Support this podcast however you can. Comment, send me a like, send me a line. Tell me about what you think about this podcast. If it resonates, if it doesn't, if you have suggestions for me, I'm open to all things. So let's keep building this thing out. I love you guys very much. Thanks for being with me as always. And you know what? Stay tuned for the next episode next week. I know I've been gone for a couple weeks, but it's been a little bit tough, but I'm still here and I'm still keeping it going. So stay with me. I got to shout out all my Patreon subscribers right now. Last but not least, my favorite people in the world: Melissa Kennedy, Scott Scrivener, Stacy Walker, Joe Chamas, Mo Nowlin, Stephanie Travers, Laura Jower, Peggy McNeil, Heather Schroeder, Griffin Phillips, Carter Adams, Stephen Schuster, Wayne and Joanne DeTore, Boomer Barry, Dan Olson, Perry Burton, Jamie, Amanda Catherine, and Monica Alvarez. Thank you guys so much for being here with me. I love you all so much. We'll see you next week. All right. Peace be with you. Mwah.
Now that's what I'm talking about.